amazing.
This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie. Scientists say an exoplanet more than twice the size of Earth is the most promising candidate so far to harbor life. Studies of the exoplanet K2-18b have revealed that the distant world could harbor the right conditions for life to exist. The planet, which is located around 124 light years away in the so-called habitable zone around its host star. It made headlines when scientists identified water vapor in its hydrogen-rich atmosphere. Dara Patel, astronomer, explains about the habitable zone.
If we think out of those 400 billion stars, that maybe 20 billion of them are sun-like stars. Even if 20% of them lay within the habitable zone, that's a distance where they're not too close to their star, not too far away, that they're the right temperature for liquid water. Well, even if 0.1% of those habitable planets had life, we would expect there to be over 1 million exoplanets out there, and that's in our galaxy. So if we think about the number of galaxies out there as well, it's highly likely that there is some form of life somewhere in the universe.
The finding of exoplanet K2-18b is intriguing given the fact that the planet is 2.6 times the size of Earth and 8.6 times the mass, according to scientists. According to the researchers, one implication of the research is that exoplanets significantly larger than Earth could host conditions that are conducive to life. The National UFO Reporting Center released its UFO sighting numbers for 2019, and the top states for sightings were Washington, Montana, Vermont, Alaska, and Maine. The states with the fewest sightings are Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. UFO sightings in upstate New York are up for 2019. In a report from Newfork, in 2018, there were 65 UFO sightings in upstate New York. And in 2019, the number of sightings increased to 89. The locations that top the list for the most reported sightings in New York State for 2019: Utica with 11, Clayville with 4, and Syracuse with 3. Singer Ozzy Osbourne made comments about extraterrestrial life during a Q&A session on Reddit following the release of his new album, Ordinary Man. During the session, Osbourne revealed that there might be alien life forms. He said, "Aliens, if we think we're the only living thing in this universe, we're all blank mad. There has got to be other life out there. Why should we be the only planet with life?" This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie.
Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS speed ready.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void, live on the Fringe FM. I am your host, Joe Roop. Welcome. It's Tuesday night, March the 3rd on into the 4th. and podcaster, author, Christian mystic TruthSeekah is here with us tonight. Very interesting guy with one hell of a story. So that's coming up here just shortly. I want to thank our sponsors, GetTheTea.com, Metaphorical Archaeology, and Ancient Life Oil. I had one heck of a session today with Barbara, and if you want to give her a call, it's 214-995-3754. This is a proven technique, this EFT tapping, and I had my first session, and I will talk to you guys about it later, but it was very revealing. I know it works, but geez, it was intense. Yeah, but she's very discreet, very sweet. So give her a call, 214-995-3754. The call-in number for tonight when we open the phone lines up is 1-800-588-0335. That's toll free from the United States or Canada, and anybody can call in. We got 4 lines. Just be nice. Try not to curse, or I'll hit the red button on you. No one's going to hear what you say anyway, so got to watch it. Also, head over to UFOseekers.com, backed and supported by the Fringe FM, at UFO Seekers on Twitter, and YouTube.com/UFO Seekers to watch all the new seasons. You know, it's funny, last night when we had the no-show, I always tell you guys, man, I can see all of you out there. One of these nights I'm going to call out each and every one of you. I can see your little IP addresses and all the states you're from. And when I tell you to call in, you don't. And then last night we had just a ringer. It's weird. I don't know what happened. So we played like the old Halloween stuff. And then what happened after that was I just went to chilling. I had to take care of my son. I'll tell you about that. But the phones are ringing. So I'm literally like standing outside talking to him, and I can hear the phones ringing going over the air. So isn't it ironic that the one night I'm not even there to take your calls, you guys is just blowing the phones up? All right. It was almost like Mary was on here. So when we open the phone lines up, just call in tonight and you can ask our guest a question. Of course you can do that. But I want to say something like, here's my message tonight before we get this started, is there is a thing about faith that I've been trying to talk to you guys about since I've started this show. Now, a lot of you are into magic and the occult and mysticism and all of this other stuff, but there's a trigger to this. There's a firing mechanism that I'm telling you that works in spirituality much better than what most think. And when I mean firing, I mean like that. And usually what it is it's faith. I know that sounds strange to some of the pragmatists, chaos magicians, and things like that, but in my life and in my experience, I have noticed that having faith, or simply using the words of Jesus and things like that, have changed the game whatever you're doing. Now, we're here to figure out why that is, of course, not to really take a biased position on it. But if it's the truth, then we become awful biased about it when we know something's true. And what's true is that everybody reports that when they have faith, or they make leaps of faith, even in moments of quiet or loud desperation, things change for them immaculately. And I have been this way since the beginning. I mean, even on the front wall here in the studio, I have a picture of Jesus knocking on the door, because I know what that means. I know what that means, right? Knock, and you're going to pretty much find out. That's probably the redneck version of it, but I know what it means. And so it's always worked for me. We've had tons of people call in and talk about this, where they've had abduction experiences and scary experiences in their life, moments of just desperation, and even non-believers that have called out to the name of God and it would save them. And we can't deny this. If we're really truth seekers, if deep down we cut out all our biased, preconceived notions, all the dialectics we've been told, and we only care about what the truth is, then we simply cannot deny this. Now, I know it's been a rough time for a lot of people with all the crazy energies that's been going on here lately, and especially for my son. One of his best friends killed himself. And it's sad when your child experiences a death, especially somebody that they know, and the kid was a good kid. He had a rough home life, and his girlfriend broke up with him, and he ended up leaping off of a building right here in Central Arkansas. I mean, not even a day ago. It's not even 24 hours ago, and he's still processing all this. And, you know, it doesn't hurt when we walk around. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. These things happen, right? But we need to be aware of people's pain, and we need to be aware that sometimes you can put away all of the formulas and just be good to somebody, or just be there for somebody, and maybe even have a little faith. And you might actually help somebody, stop somebody from these types of things. So I'm probably, because of this event, going to really be pushing the suicide awareness thing, because that was really intense. It was hard for me to talk to him about that. And, you know, it's one of those things. I don't want to get detailed about it, but the kid was hurting. I mean, he would cut himself and do things like that before he ever did this. And, you know, do we get so caught up in the truth sometimes that we forget to look at people's pain? We forget to reach down and try to help them and pull them up when they're hurting the most? Are we so caught up in our own stories that we can't do that? Now, there's a lot of people out there that are just really don't care about that. They're out there to help. And I believe TruthSeekah is one of these guys. And he's a Christian mystic and a visionary artist, as well as a hip-hop artist whose knowledge about esoteric and spiritual subjects are infused throughout the medium of music and lyricism. In his music, TruthSeekah pioneers a new sound with rhythmic, mystic hip-hop beats while staying true to the southern flows that he has been known to produce. And TruthSeekah has been influenced by the works of Manly P. Hall and has been inspired by greats like Jordan Maxwell, Santos, Bonacci, and Michael Tsarion, who have also endorsed his music. The influence he has experienced from these spiritual and esoteric authorities and many others is apparent throughout the lyrics, as well as the meanings of signs and symbols. TruthSeekah's message is of light, love, and overstanding. And you can check out the website for reference tonight, TruthSeekah. That's TRUTH Seekah, SEEKAH, TruthSeekah.com. That's where you want to go for the reference tonight. Thank you for coming on the show, man. It's good to have you here.
Hey, man, that was a heart-tugging introduction, man. Good stuff, brother.
Yeah, it's strange. Like, you know, I've been trying to study like all this, you know, everything pretty much, man. Religion, esotericism, hermeticism, astrology, tarot, you name it, man. Like, I've studied all of it. And the one thing that I know, like, I can pick up is when there's certain energies out there that I think, you know, in Ecclesiastes where he talks about there's nothing new under the sun. See, I really believe that. I really believe there's kind of like these stories that perpetuate. And a lot of times we're all going through the same stuff. It's just, you know, the characters are different. And some people make it through, some people persevere, and then some people, they don't have anybody, you know. And if you look at the story of Jesus and the Christian story, I mean, this guy, you know, he wasn't walking around just trying to pat everybody on the back for their good deeds. He was there to pull people up, you know. Yeah. And I think we forget about that sometimes, you know.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm in the same boat. You know, I'm a seeker, you know, seeker, if you will. And I look into it all as well, but sometimes it's easy to get off track, man. And it's when eye-opening things like that happen to make me like, it brings me home, man. What are you doing? Like getting out there and just kind of studying gnosis and knowledge for the sake of knowledge, like as if knowledge is going to save us or we're going to learn some new truth. And it's like a rabbit hole that you're digging down. But again, when it comes back to having faith, and this faith that is practical and faith that is applicable to our lives, man, that we can really influence the lives of people around us, the people who are hurting. And it's very similar times. I find out people in my audience and people listen to the podcast and stuff, they take their own life, you know, and it's like, man, you know, and I had a conversation with them a couple of days ago, and it brings things home, man. Like, time is short, man. And, you know, people are struggling, people are fighting, you know, these demons that we don't even know. And when we talk about the esoterics and occult and stuff like that, like, I found that a lot of people are trying to cover up their hurt with this kind of knowledge. It's like they're kind of like reaching out, man. They're going through stuff, and and I'll just preface it this way. There was a guy the other day. He was, I don't even know who he is. It's a mutual Facebook friend. He was live streaming Jordan Maxwell and occult videos on his Facebook feed, and he just had his phone playing his TV, whatever was on Gaia or something. Yeah. And he's playing this stuff, streaming it, and I hear him in the background arguing with his mother, and they're screaming at the top of their lungs, and she's like, "You gotta stop with this Anunnaki stuff. You're killing me with," he's like, "the lizards, Mom." He's just freaking out, like borderline schizophrenia and craziness that's going on into this stuff. And it's like it's a rabbit hole, and people are chasing their tail. So we gotta have some substance, man. We gotta have like all of this stuff we've been studying. I know you've studied for years. Like where has it gotten you? Like,
Exactly.
What impact are you having in the earth? Are you helping people? Are you know what I'm saying? You're helping people who are going through hardships. A lot of people, they don't have anything to offer, just knowledge and documentaries and books and, all this kind of stuff. So it's got to become real for us, man.
Yeah, I believe in that. I totally believe in that. And it's actually this, you're right, because I've gotten so obsessed about knowledge where I just have locked myself in hermit mode and realize, later on, and like maybe, I don't know how long down the road, I look in the mirror and I look at myself and I'm like, whoa, what happened? Well, you've been so into the books and everything that you forgot to go out and apply some of this stuff. But, it's like, it all goes back to, like, I grew up Baptist, right? And then my grandmother came along and put me in Assembly of God, and I did that kind of thing for a while. But I wasn't getting any of the answers and stuff. So then I turned to like mysticism and metaphysics and picked up books like Conversations with God and Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe. And I was like, what, man, this stuff sounds right, but is it real? And, it kind of struck me when I read that book, Conversations with God, not really taking on that as truth, but there's a part in that book where God tells him if he was really talking to God. That's up to anybody that reads it. But he tells him, he says, I can't tell you my truth until you stop telling me yours, And I was thinking, whoa, that's pretty intense. So we do think we know a lot, but then when we go down this rabbit hole, we end up chasing our tails sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hate, we were talking about Jordan Maxwell before we went live, and, there's a scripture that comes to mind when I think of him and where he's at right now. And I love the guy, but, and you mentioned Ecclesiastes 1:18. It says, for with much wisdom comes much sorrow, and more knowledge comes more grief. Yeah. But it talks about let knowledge for the sake of knowledge becomes vexation of spirit. That you become vexed with how much you know about the other realms and about how they operate. And then, it becomes a prideful issue even. And so you don't even, we have the knowledge and stuff like that. And I'm not against studying and learning, but it really would help us out if we pray, if we ask the Creator, ask him for wisdom on how to share the knowledge that we've acquired. Because we're this knowledge for the sake of knowledge isn't going to get us anywhere. It becomes spirit, man, overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Freaking out, all of this crazy stuff that people are learning, and like literally the conspiracy stuff for sure. Like people are getting freaked out, man.
Yeah, and then we got the coronavirus and stuff like that. And I don't want to give in to fear, So I talked about that last night. I'm like, you guys, we don't know our own power. And I feel like as far as the Jesus story goes, he came here to try to tell us like what we were doing to ourselves, like this is what you're capable of, and this is what you're doing to yourself, right? And this is what you could be. So he came here to like evolve us. That's the way I look at it. But he's also considered by a lot of people, especially like, the Rosicrucians and stuff, they call him the master. They develop their whole thing around, his fundamental truths. But there's a hint of occultism in there where you get, okay, I understand the planets, I understand the elements, I understand all this stuff. I get the correspondences and everything. But what is it doing for me, and what is it doing for the people in my life? Is my life changing? Are the people in my community changing? Are we helping each other? Are we doing good? And then you see this virus like spreading, coronavirus. And to me, it's like a live representation of what's going on in the world. And it's coming to life, like the word is alive kind of thing,
Hey, yeah, very much could be, man. But it's usually things like that happens that wake people up. You know what I'm saying? It's not until something catastrophic or drastic happens that calls for catastrophic, drastic changes in your life, to examine yourself and see what you're doing. And, we have these things that happens that wake us up because we get lulled to sleep, man. We get weary and well-doing and we just learn the routine and things like that. But it's things that happen. But it very well could be, on a massive scale, you know what I'm saying? Just a response. I think that a lot of things are a response to what we as a people are doing, or we as a people are allowing, entertaining, petitioning for. And then so maybe the heavens respond and gives us that thing that we want. And then we find out in the end that we didn't want it to begin with. And a lot of times those things turn our hearts back to our creator, and we ask for forgiveness, and we learn the error of our way. You know what I'm saying? As an individual, but then as a people as well, you know what I'm saying, as a collective. And that's definitely what's going on the greater scheme of things. But, you know, things like this that seem like a response from the heavens that just kind of rain down on the people. Yeah. Because they're asking for it, you know? Yeah. It's like you can't, like, it's for every action, you're going to have a reaction, man. That my book, that's what it's about. Like that, the way that the spirit realm operates, like it responds off of whatever you do. There's laws and things that are in place. We can call them universal laws, and it's mentioned all throughout the scriptures as well. But these demons and angels and things like that, and spirits that are loosed according to the sins or the deeds of the people. There are even spirits that rule and reign over different regions and nations according to what the people are entertaining. Right. Yeah. According to what they're doing, putting out. What they're beckoning for. Yeah. So your book you're referring to is Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, and Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God, right? That's your new book. Yes. that just came out. So I picked up the Kindle edition and just started reading it, and it's very interesting that you come from a background of hard religion, right? Like, you know, you even studied theology, Judaism even, that's some pretty hardcore stuff. The Jews' religion is, because my grandfather, he's kind of that way. He's that way too. And he's real strict about the law and about the holidays and everything. Yeah. It's like, man, we did that for sure. So what made you what changed you? What made you want to get out of that? Man, so just as a Christian, like what made me want to stop that, or even get in, let's just say what made me want to get into it was looking for truth, like and for me as a Christian, looking for Christianity before it got tampered with, right? We're looking, you start studying, you find out about Constantine. Oh man, and everybody's researching that in the Book of Enoch and all this stuff. And you find out that like a lot of these books that were taken out of the Bible, it talks about how the ancients were worshiping these pagan deities and making child sacrifices and all kind of crazy pacts with demons and stuff. And then the more you look into it, you see how that paganism that they were involved with mixed with Christianity. So it's like, man, looking at our holidays now, Christmas and Easter and Halloween and just every holiday that we have, holiday, or some would say holy day, and finding the origins of it, finding the roots of it, because it's not in the Bible, it's something new. So just trying to get back to like the earliest form of Christianity before it got tampered with. So that was like this long journey of looking into some of the books that were taken out, and then wanting to walk like Jesus, man. Like if he did it, I wanted to do it. If he ate it, I wanted to eat it. If he celebrated it, I wanted to celebrate it, and getting back to that. And that's what led us to the Hebraic roots movement and Messianic Judaism, which was beautiful for what it was, you know what I'm saying? But it definitely gets dogmatic and, feel like you're better than people because of what you're doing versus what he did for you, right? Christ becoming the sacrifice and for all. So, it's all part of the journey, man. And there was things that I learned in that was, beautiful. And I still appreciate to this day.
Well, I think it's really cool too in your book how you talk about that, that a lot of these denominations are kind of missing parts of the truth, but that they have part of the truth as well. And kind of like how you acknowledge that everybody's on their journey, but you found something deeper. And I think when you get to that place, it seems kind of lonely, right? And I feel like that's why I started a podcast. I don't know why you started a podcast, but I got to that place, and it wasn't really from Christianity because, to be honest with you, I left Christianity. I was so tired of it, and it wasn't really the teachings. See, that's the thing. It was the atmosphere. It was all the judgment. It was all the hypocrites and everything, and not getting any answers. And I'm thinking, this isn't right, so I left it, studied a lot of stuff, only to find out that the occultists and the metaphysicians and all this stuff, they kind of really take this long curve through the Renaissance and everything, and then even throw in some Eastern religion, all that, and then bam, you come right back to wait. So you're using Hebrew language in your magic, and you're using the name of Jesus and your planetary magic and stuff. Like, didn't I just hear you spouting against Christians? Yeah, well, it works. Yeah. That's why we use it. I'm thinking, so that's what depart from me I never knew you meant. Okay.
Man, it's people want an alternative, bro, and it don't matter what that alternative is, especially because people like situations like you, like me, right? And so you leave Christianity, but you still seeking after spirituality. You're still seeking after God and power and things like that. But it has to be an alternative to the hypocrites that have it wrong in the Christian church who are still celebrating Christmas, right? They can't be right because they're doing that or whatever the case is. And so we'll go for anything, man. We look to the East. We look to any of these occult books, and we allow people to make up new theologies. And if they're great at explaining it, we'll start believing it. Like I listened to a new interview by David Wilcock and Corey Goode. It just came out. They were on a Jenny McCarthy podcast, and I was listening to it, and they were saying a lot of good things, a lot of beautiful things. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He was like, yeah, it all sounds right, but they're mixing so much other stuff in with it. And I say, yeah, the reason it sounds right is because they're basically ripping off the scriptures, ripping off the Bible and other universal truths, and they're changing the names of it. They're just changing the names. They're saying, yeah, well, it's instead of angels, let's just say aliens. They're changing these names and stuff, and people are going for it because they're so tired of dead religion, empty religion. People are tired of hypocritical church. People are leaving the churches in droves now, but so that's why I do what I do. That's why I do my podcast, to represent Christ, to represent him to the world in a different light for who he truly is, and how beautiful he is, and how good he's been to me. And so that's why I do what I do, to kind of share that. People are searching, man, and a lot of them, they want an alternative. And so for me, I left Christianity too, but I didn't leave Christ. I didn't leave Jesus. So, and there's a lot of people. I mean, I think that's why my podcast is doing as well as it is right now, is the fact that there's so many people who still have faith in God and faith in Christ, but they're just disconnected from church because they're asking the bigger questions and they're not getting the answers and things like that. And they can easily turn on a podcast or do a Google search or something like that and find the answers for what they're looking for. And it just so happens to be that a lot of them are finding my podcast right now.
Man, that makes all the sense in the world. Actually, I want to talk a little bit more about your journey when we come back right after this break. We're with TruthSeekah, TruthSeekah.com. I'll drop that in the chat room. You can go into the chat room as well at thefringe.fm/chat room. Stay with us.
Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right, construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check, but there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
All right, man, this is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Right, me old Chiners. I know it's an ad break, but before you lot shoot off and make yourself a cup of Rosie Lee or whatever else it is you're going to sling down your Gregory Peck, you need to listen to me babble. If, like me, you found your way to Lighting the Void via a downloadable podcast, you might want to take a butcher's at the Fringe FM Wind and Kite. You won't Adam and Eve how many other shows there are or what they rabbit on about. Ancient history, conspiracy, the consciousness, the esoteric, the occult, metaphysics, parapolitical, ufology, technology and spirituality, to name but a few. They got featured hosts like Ryan Gable, Jeremy Scott, Alex Exum, Tim Doyle, Cortana and Gigi, Susanna Ross, the Reverend John Polk, Michael Deacon and J.D. Lewis. You might find yourself listening to the thoughts and theories of the author of The Fish you just finished reading. Or you could pick up the dog and bone, call in and tell everyone your own beliefs or experiences. So do me a favour, before you put on the Ansel or crack open a bottle of vino or roll a joint, go to the Fringe FM and see what you're missing.
From a cave in the depths of your mind, it's Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you're interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Root and his show, Lighting the Void.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
TruthSeekah is our guest tonight, right here live on the Fringe FM. Don't forget, The Secret Teachings is on right after this show as well. We're going to be at the Ozark UFO Conference April the 10th, I believe, through the 13th. So if you're around that time, please come out and see us. Tomorrow night on the program, Alex Kazami is going to be on, and we're going to talk about his book about pop magic. Pretty interesting stuff. But tonight, we're going to get into what TruthSeekah is talking about. And your new book, man, is this your first book that you wrote? Is this like the first one you did?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I did just a little small one with a couple stories in it and put it out. I only did like just a few copies, but that's my first official release. So yeah.
That's cool. That's always a good thing. And a lot of people been grabbing it and stuff too. I think that's inspiring actually, because I've been thinking about writing a book about some of the out of body stuff that's happened to me, and it's really been kicking up here lately. And I kind of want to ask you about that, because you do talk about supernatural experiences and the spirit realm and things like that. I mean, you know, I don't think I get this vibe from you, and I could be wrong, that you're not really out here trying to preach to people. You're out here still trying to find the truth and then relay the message, but still all the while conveying a message that faith and this story that was told in the Bible, there's something very true about it. That's the vibe I get from you. Am I off?
Yeah, I mean, I can only share my story, you know what I'm saying? And so I can only share my truth and what I've experienced and what's been real to me. And I've just been open and honest with that. And whatever that looks like, and whatever doubts or fears, and really on the podcast, sharing what works for me, and also sharing what didn't work. Hey, watch out for this. Watch out for these people. They're gonna try to get you. Oh, you doing this? Okay, watch out. And being open and honest, man. And then having other guests, you know, come on and allowing them to be open and honest. And I think that everybody has a piece to the puzzle, man. And I've just been open to the conversation, no matter what faith a person is or a belief that they have. It's like, I'm not scared of it. You know what I'm saying? I've just been open to have that conversation with them. It's not a threat to me and my belief system or whatever, because this is my truth. This is what works for me, man. Like, if it's working for you, and hey, more power to you. But for those who are seeking, man, I try this. If you tried everything else and it's not working, try this. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm real just open about my experiences, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it too, you know, at the same time. I still can't, it's still hard to articulate a lot of this stuff and figure out what's going on. So we got to enjoy the process and enjoy the ride and the journey, and you know that we're here to have this experience as well. And, you know, just try to make it a little bit easier for people too, man. People are struggling, you know, like we said. So.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, and you know what's on everybody's mind, because there's only a couple of people that I bring on here that kind of talk about the Christian message, but I still feel like you have to talk about it. If you're going to get to the truth, you can't just throw it out because you don't like it, right? So, I mean, it's Daniel Joseph has been on here from a student of Daskalos, which is like one of the greatest Christian mystic stories I've ever heard. And again, I'll bring up what we said before the break, all of this metaphysical stuff, all the books that I have, all the occult books, they're full of Hebrew Christian stuff. You know, I mean, come on. So there's something true about it. There's something true, at least about the Hebrew language. And I was going to ask you about that, because I don't know what your experience with it is, but mine, you know, as a practitioner for Mysticism, I've noticed that there's something there. Is it dangerous? Is it something we should be messing with? I mean, what's your opinions on that?
The Hebrew language, bro, I love it, man. I you know, the Hebrew names, I mean, studying the etymology of words and doing word studies in the Bible, you're finding out that these words have multiple meanings in the spelling of the words. And we've heard all that, just the different spelling in the words and the way they're pronounced and things like that. It's like it's magic. Words are alive, man. Right. And there's that whole thing too. Just there's the whole thing now is getting kind of deep, where the letters themselves are alive, and the letters tell a story by themselves. And when they come together to formulate a word, you're getting like a whole story out of one word and what that word means. And there's a lot of deep research a lot of people are digging up when it comes to studying biblical Hebrew. But for me, it's a beautiful language, and knowing, God and calling upon his name by that, the name of the I am, and knowing those sacred names that are really near. I'm not going to fight anybody over it. There's a lot of groups that'll fight you over the pronunciation and the real names and things like that. But for me, that there's something to it. Chanting these Hebrew mantras and going back to that and studying it. And so for me, praying the Shema, joining with all of creation and speaking about the Hebrew, but then, some of the other languages as well. The Sanskrit is beautiful as well, very similar as well.
Do you feel like other religions have truth to them too? Like, say, for instance, Hinduism has been around just as long as Judaism. Do you feel like that they're all leading to the same thing, or they're really talking about separate things that aren't even close?
Both.
They just call them different things, right? That's kind of what I think too. Yeah,
they got things that make them the same, and then there's things that make them polar opposites. There's doctrines and beliefs in them that are polarizing. I've trained myself to see the similarities in them all, and how they do correlate and how they're saying different things. And there's so much beauty in that I found. But at the same time, you have to have an eye for that. You know what I'm saying? You find what you're looking for. If you're looking for the beauty, if you're looking for the similarities and everything, you're going to find it. I've trained myself to find it. Just like on the other side, I've trained myself to find what makes us different and why we aren't the same and those kind of things. So I've kind of teeter-tottered in between the two over the years of being real militant in faith and real combative to being more open and more inclusive and looking into what makes us the same versus what makes us different. And so there's a lot to it. You know, I think that, again, with a lot of that stuff we talk about, the biggest thing for me is seeing that people are just needing an alternative to Christianity. Because it Christianity failed them. It sold them short. You know, they didn't find what they were looking for. They couldn't have their cake and eat it too, whatever it is, man. And so we need an alternative, whether it's Hinduism, whether it's Islam, whether it's New Age, whether it's just spirituality or, you know, alien UFO religions. It doesn't matter. You need something other than Christianity, you know?
Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And do you feel like that the story of Christ was told properly? Or, you know, let's say we take the King James Bible, which was pretty much shoved down me since I was a kid. And my dad, man, he used to make me, I don't know why he did it. As a punishment, he shouldn't have did it that way. But he would make me go in my room and listen to Alexander Scourby read the Bible. You know, so I'd have to shut the door and listen
trying to get that devil out of you, man.
Yeah, right. That's what he's doing, and
that's all he knew to do.
That's right. That's how he was raised. I don't blame him for it.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
real.
And
funny, but it's the truth.
But Alexander Scourby really could tell a story. Like he was like the best reader of the Bible, anyway. So it did kind of attract me. But I feel like when it comes to Christ's story, I don't know if they told it right. Like the 4 Gospels feel good to me. Like those 4 books, they feel good to me.
I do. Yeah, I do, man. I think that there's enough truth in those in the King James. You know what I'm saying? To get you through. Obviously, you know, there's other versions that modernize it a lot and really help people get a basic understanding. I study the King James, but I'm finding myself as I'm reading it and teaching it now, it just feels kind of weird just because, you know, it's dated,
school,
but I like the way it sounds. I like the fact that it's Old English and it sounds more poetic and more and holy, if you will, that kind of thing, right? But yeah, I think that it did a good job, and I think that the truth is in there. People again there's this other thing again wanting to get away from Christianity because the Bible's been tampered with. You know, the Bible they changed it, bro, you know, and all of it took stuff out of it, man. We don't have a complete Bible. So you have these other understandings. So you want to find the truth. And then you start looking into other religions, or you look into, going back to Sumeria. We want the earliest, oldest. That was my thing of wanting to get back. So that's what led me to Judaism.
Right.
I want Christianity before it got tampered with. Messianic Judaism, Judaism that believed in the Messiah. But then my studies there is like led me back to Egypt as well. Doing more study Egypt, and then we got to predate Egypt and go to Sumer. And so you're trying to find and get to the earliest religion, find that one, and then we have the truth, and then we'll serve it, then we'll follow it. You know, but we end up chasing our tails, like you said, trying to seek truth, and we're just chasing our tails. The thing is, like, find one and do it. Find one and work it. The system will work if
that's
you
your
work
point,
it.
Right? Like you want to find that.
Yeah.
See, I was listening to your podcast about that. I think it was your latest episode, and you were talking about that, like how people they want to get down to the knowledge, or they want to find Noah's Ark or whatever, and they're not finding it, because if they find Noah's Ark and whatever, and you're like, how about somebody just look at it and say, hey, this feels right. You know, this feels like an operating system. Let me just try it. You know, like if you're a hypocrite, or not a hypocrite, but, you know, if you're a skeptic, I said skeptic in my brain, and hypocrite come out my mouth. Isn't that weird? Like, but if you're a skeptic, that's how I look at things. Try it. Then tell me what happens. And then something might happen, I'm just saying, in your life where you might go, does it really matter if Noah's Ark gets found or not? Because this is working.
That's where I'm at now. Because it don't matter, and so people are, for them, that's what makes it real. Like, it makes it if they can find proof. And, those scriptures were tampered and, they didn't really write that. And all this crazy. Listen, system works if you work it. That's a magical book. That's the most magical book you'll ever find. And there's a reason that these people don't want you reading it. There's a reason for that. It's the most powerful book that you will ever read. So coming up with all of these questions and musings and, hey, but check out this one. The Bible does sound like this book. Read this one. Read the Kabbalion. It's deeper than the Bible. Whatever it is.
Kabbalion,
you got all these different things to pull you out of it. There's a reason they don't want you to read it. Yeah. When you read the scriptures, you're reading it's sharper than any two-edged sword, able to do surgery on your heart, man. Like when you read the scriptures, you're beholding into a mirror. Like, you're reading your story. You're not reading about King David. You're not reading about Noah's Ark. You're reading about King David fighting his giants. Why? Because you're being trained on how you're going to fight your giants, how you're going to deal with your idolatry, how you're going to deal with the death of a loved one, or where you are spiritually dealing with all of this stuff. And so it's the most metaphorical, allegorical. It's everything all at once, man. And God has a way of using those words to do heart surgery on you, man, and reveal truth to the reader that no other book can do. God speaks through all things. Let's get that straight. But it's something special. It's something particular about the written word of trying to seek him through that means.
Yeah, I got what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It's funny too, like the people that they get anti about what you're saying. And look, yeah. I've been there. I understand it. But I'm not anti anything what anybody says. I want to hear everybody's story, right? But what I always ask, and I'm like, yeah, but most of those people, and I hate doing it because I feel so bad when I ask it, but it's like the question I got to ask. I'm like, yeah, I get what you're saying about the proof and all this other stuff, but why are you so angry? Why are you mad? Like, are you happy right now in your life? Like, do you feel like you're living a fulfilled life? And that goes back to what you were saying before about seeking knowledge. You're gonna get more misery, and that's true. It doesn't mean I'm gonna stop seeking it because I want to know it so bad, but it's so true, man. You start feeling alone. But it comes to a place of resting, man. You know what I'm saying? Being able to rest in that, and just apply it though. Just apply it. If it's working for you, man, like, I'm all for it. And it's helping you be a better person. Even Manly P. Hall breaks it down. He says, look, he says your spirituality is in vain if the life of your dog isn't better. Like, dad still kicks the dog on the way out the door, then his religion is in vain. And the scriptures talk about that too, that a man's religion is vain. And people always say, we talk about preachers and all these so-called spiritual people. Don't talk to the people. People say, I'll talk to their children, man. Talk to their wife. Look, see how he treats his wife. Look at their relationship. Is he trustworthy? Like, look at these natural things that his spirituality should be producing in him. These fruits of the spirit that you can tell and you want to hang around. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people who are deep and they'll blow my head off with knowledge. They're bitter. They're angry. They're mad. Their family left them. Their kids don't want anything to do with them. You think I want that in my life? Nah, fam. You can have that. Right. You can have that knowledge. You can have no. It ain't worth it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about not seeking. It's about what are you seeking? You're seeking after things that are it's draining you. It's seeking you, man. You know what I'm saying? There's some deep. We're dealing with spiritual warfare, bro. When we're dealing with knowledge and information and imaginations that reading text and things just kind of birth in you, it's a really interesting subject indeed. Yeah, it's like, and I had Jeff Harmon on here. He was telling me about. Now, he's an astrologer, right? But he's a Christian guy, and you can tell it. You don't have to ask him; you can just tell it. And he introduced me to the story of Dr. Stylianos the Tessalist, like the famous master. And then you dig into this guy, and you're like, wait, all right. So I was reading Theosophy, like Madame Blavatsky and all this stuff, and they talk about hidden masters, only to find out that this guy, Daskalos, was one of the masters that they went to. Now, why didn't they just say that in their books? Is it because they don't want everybody to know he was a Christian or he believed in Jesus? Now, he has he calls him Yahshua, and he's got a different story, and it's really some profound stuff. But like you talk about, the fundamentals of the truth of what's really going on there is there, the power of it. I mean, this guy put his hands on people and would heal people, and he lived no extravagant life. And anytime somebody come to him and try to praise him, he wouldn't have it. He'd be like, it's not me, it's not me at all.
Are you familiar with Smith Wigglesworth? Have you heard of him?
No, have not.
And yes, man, read the book they wrote about him, Crazy Miracles. He couldn't even read. He had to have somebody read the Bible for him, or he would have it divinely downloaded to him. But he was a plumber, and he was crazy miracles just like that. Just a regular guy, he's a Christian guy. Yeah. He's got some crazy far out stories, like arms and legs growing back, limbs growing back from people, and things like that. But yeah, just it's just the simple people, and he was a Christian as well.
Let me ask you a question that's on everybody's mind, because everybody wants to know this. That's listening, I know. So, if you are a Christian mystic, what is TruthSeekah's viewpoint on hell? Like the eternal hellfire type story.
Yeah, I don't buy it, man.
Don't make sense,
one
right?
bit. I did buy it. You know what I'm saying? And I was scared, scared to die and go to hell for some time. But this is, the interesting thing is, it's a growing doctrine in Christianity right now that people are rethinking hell. And looking at some of the different truths in the Bible about, what the words were that were being used for that, and a place of eternal torment or eternal judgment, or God created you to destroy you. The longer that someone's in a relationship with a loving creator, a loving God, it's the concept of a eternal hell just doesn't even seem like a reality. And then we're going back to the scriptures. There's so much in there that, talked about that if there is anything, that maybe it's some type of place of testing, or a place of purification, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's not in the Old Testament at all.
Yeah, it's I think it's, I don't know what your view on reincarnation is, but I think it's more like, and this is just theories that I have in my head,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more like when he talks about the suffering, cleansing, gnashing of teeth, all that stuff. You know how earlier you were talking about how when people, they go through bad stuff in their life, but it's like a dark treasure almost that brings them back to the truth.
Yep.
And if you go through enough suffering, it just keeps leading you back to the truth. And so there is a kind of a hell. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people. There's a lot of miserable people out there, man, that are suffering.
Yeah.
And there's hell going on in people's lives.
I'm 100% with you, man. I'm not worried about people dying and going to hell. I'm worried about people who are in hell right now, Yeah. And so that the fact is that they can have life, and they can have it more abundantly through Christ, man. Now, not when you die, but now. And there's people literally in hell right now, man, because hell is a state of consciousness. Hell is a place that, is a place of separation from God, or at least you feel like you're separated from God, right? In the scriptures as well, you're talking about like going through the fire, right, of being tried. That's a natural process that we're all going through. We're going through the fire. Mm-hmm. Some of us are consumed in that fire. And only love and joy and peace is going to be what remains through the fire. So those who are walking in the spirit of love, they're gonna be in the fire and not be burned. Just like we seen Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the Old Testament while they were tried in the fire and they weren't burned. It's because Jesus was with them, and Jesus is love. So it all comes back down to love. But there was something that was practiced in the scriptures of giving one over to Satan so that their soul would be saved. So there'll be a time of testing and trial that this person is involved with sin, or they got into some things that they're not supposed to be involved with. They're leading people astray. You have to cut them off, cut that part of the body off. If the hand causes you to stumble, cut it off so that you can save your body. And so giving a person over to Satan so that their soul would be saved, that literally Satan and the demons will work on you and bring you back to the faith.
Yeah,
they will try you. It's
almost like they're just doing their job.
They're doing their job.
You know, that's the thing. And, you know, before we take a break, if you ever, because we're at the top of the hour here with TruthSeekah, but if you ever notice, if you read any magic books, these people that conjure demons, they even talk about how the demons are mad because they called them up. Like, what are you doing? Why'd you call me here? Right? I'm about doing my job and you pulled me out. Like, that's what it sounds like in these books. Like, they're already miserable doing their job. They're doing what they're supposed to do. And I'll get into some more of that stuff and ask you some more questions, man, because you got a really, really interesting story. But we've got to take a break because we're at the top of the hour with TruthSeekah. Go to the website. TruthSeekah is SEEKAH, TruthSeekah.com. That's the website. Go check out his new book. We'll be right back.
And you're listening to The Fringe FM.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is Fee, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root on the show, and I heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new art gal. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all of the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
Hey, Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit BeyondTheStrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
We all have that story to tell in our lives. The winds were howling, the ground shook, you could hear rushing water, and then history repeats itself. When there's no power, refrigeration fails, stores with their shelves strip bare, ATMs can't operate, deliveries stop. Then what? These events can last days or weeks. You need a plan. In statements made during recent interviews, FEMA Administrator Brock Long has repeatedly urged all Americans to understand 3 truths. FEMA is broke, the system is broken. If this is the new normal, Americans can't rely on federal cavalry when disaster strikes. Don't get caught out in the elements empty-handed. Prepare with us by going to preparewiththefringe.com and get your 2-week food supply. 92 servings, 8 food varieties with 25-year shelf life. Normally $137, now only $75. Or get a month's supply, normally $247, now only $147, shipped in 1 business day. Just go to preparewiththefringe.com or call 888-440-7931. That's 888-440-7931. Get this great offer and be prepared while it lasts.
Abnormal News, I'm Brad Bernards. The sun is right there in the name of NASA's Parker Solar Probe, but a second mission of opportunity may make the spacecraft just as vital to Venus scientists as to those studying our local star. Parker Solar Probe launched in August 2018, destined to spend 7 years looping ever closer to the sun in hopes of sorting out some of the hottest mysteries about our star. But to do so, the spacecraft needed a carefully choreographed trajectory, one that included 7 flybys of Earth's evil twin, Venus, and Venus scientists who haven't had a dedicated NASA spacecraft since the mid-1990s were not about to let that opportunity fly past them. Of course, Parker Solar Probe's instruments are designed to study a star, not a planet. Traditionally, planetary scientists want very different instruments on their spacecraft, but that doesn't make plasma data superfluous. 2 dedicated Venus missions have carried plasma detectors to the world, NASA's Pioneer Venus Orbiter and the European Space Agency's Venus Express. But those spacecrafts were built decades ago. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory has observed a magnetic explosion, the likes of which have never been seen before. In the scorching upper reaches of the sun's atmosphere, a prominence, a large loop of material launched by an eruption on the solar surface, started falling back to the surface of the sun. But before it could make it, the prominence ran into a snarl of magnetic field lines, sparking a magnetic explosion.
The explosion, known as forced or controlled magnetic reconnection, is triggered by an eruption on the sun, which causes tangled magnetic field lines to explosively snap and realign, shooting out particles and energy.
The observation, which confirms a decade-old theory, may help scientists understand a key mystery about the sun's atmosphere, better predict space weather, and may also lead to breakthroughs in the controlled fusion and lab plasma experiments. Previously, a type of magnetic reconnection known as spontaneous reconnection has been seen both on the sun and around the Earth, but this new explosion-driven type, called forced reconnection, had never been seen directly, though it was first theorized 15 years ago. The new observations have just been published in the Astrophysical Journal. Read the news at parabnormalradio.com. I'm Brad Bernards, Parabnormal News.
Somewhere between abnormal and paranormal, there's a show called Into the Paranormal. I'm Jeremy Scott. Hear me live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern on the Fringe FM.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We're live on the Fringe FM. We're here Monday through Friday nights, every single night, 9 p.m. to midnight. Tonight, our guest, TruthSeekah, podcaster, author, and just an interesting guy, man. I didn't even get into your story, and we were talking about hell before the break and stuff, and I can't wait to read the rest of your book, but I am very interested. We were talking about the Hebrew language earlier. I got to tell you, as I got into like Rosicrucian magic and stuff, and you read their books, they talk about you'd meet these spirits and that you would test the spirits. Now, I know the Bible talks about testing spirits, right? So,
yeah.
But you know what they would do is they would use the Hebrew language and actually trace a Hebrew letter to get spirits to do certain things or even test them if they were legit. You ever heard anything like that?
No, not that.
That's
I know testing the spirits to see if they're of God or not, but it was never no. I'm sure they try to, allude back to that's what it was talking about. But no, I've never heard that.
See, and that's my point. So you look into a magic text, right? And they got all of these different ways to get the spirits to do different things or test them, stuff like that. And then you go back to the Bible or the original scriptures, and it's like, well, testing the spirits pretty easy, right? This is what you do. You don't have to do all that other stuff. And,
yeah.
Well, why are we doing this then?
You get good at what God has already given you, at your discernment, your intuition, your empathy, telepathy, you know what I'm saying? ESP, extrasensory perception. Like these are the gifts that we already have that we get good at. So we're able to discern in those things by those gifts that God has given us, and then seeing if it speaks according to the word. If it's something that's bringing a new doctrine, a new philosophy, telling you to follow after other gods, those are different ways that you would test the spirit. Like, someone says a spirit come up, well, yeah, the spirit wants you to cut yourself and make a blood sacrifice and put an idol in your home so that, you remember that they're there. Like, so all kind of stuff. These spirits want to exist on the other side of reality. Like they want to incarnate here, and they need a host. They need a body, whether they have a human, an animal. Then a lot of times when it's a person, they want blood, they have trinkets and necklaces and symbols and those kind of things. Mm-hmm. That is some type of proof that they still exist, that they're still here, that they still have influence in the earth and stuff. And so when you're dealing with those lower entities, they always do that.
Interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. See, I've never invoked a demon, but I've read about people that talk about it. And now I have, worked with angels and stuff. And funny thing is like when you get a help from an angel about a certain thing, you get like, at least in my experience, you get one or two things that happen. It's like, yeah, I'll help you, but first you're gonna have to work on this. All right. And then it's like, okay, I can do that. And they're not making a deal with you like a demon is. It's more like they're trying to help you grow kind of thing,
I
in
talk
a loving
about that
way.
in my book, man.
Do you for real? I ain't even got to that part. It's funny that.
Yeah. So, well, I talk about, we talk about UFOs and my UFO experiences and things like that are very much into the angelic, right? The lights in the sky that are flying around, traveling back and forth from heaven to earth and those kind of things. And they communicate telepathically. And so a lot of the things that was spoken to me was about get your house in order, pretty much like stop eating meat, and start meditating more to continue conversation. And those two right there, just that combination, man,
really?
Just to be mindful. And like you said, it was just something to better yourself, clean your system out. And then I have different scripture references where it was through elongated fasts that the prophets would go on, and then they would have an angelic visitation. It's like they're changing the vibration of their body, their auric field, for angels to be able to stand in their presence, or for them to be able to see what's going on in the spirit realm. And so I think that the diet and the meditation and getting good at it has a lot to deal with it. And so Daniel fast, there was a scripture in Daniel where Daniel just ate fruits and vegetables for I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. And at the end of that time, an angel appeared to him, Gabriel appeared to him and told him his destiny, what he's supposed to do with this life. You know what I'm saying? And so I've had very similar experiences myself, and I'm not the only one, many other people, but it's something about, taking care of your body, doing good, man, doing good in the earth versus like, I need you to go sacrifice these animals or kill your family, crazy stuff that people are getting from demons, bro. Literally. I know that seems far out, but the devil told me to do it type deal. You're hearing all kind of crazy stuff, and we're seeing a lot of it with the Illuminati, if you will, and some of the secret societies that are being found out right now in the media, and all these people who are getting busted. We're seeing the types of stuff that they've been involved with, and some of the hacks with demons and crazy, just, man, mind-blowing, disgusting, satanic things that these people are involved with lower level entities.
Just power-hungry scum of the earth, man. That's, it's like, it is pretty trippy. I remember it was not too long ago, they busted a whole bunch of them on a bridge, like in the middle of traffic, just got out and started arresting all of them, but they don't ever say their names. I guess they're trying to protect them or something. It don't matter. As long as they get behind bars, I'm happy for it. But,
I was, have you heard of True Detective, the TV series?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yep.
Well, that the storyline from that was from the church that I used to go to.
Really?
When I got born again and like gave my life back to God, when I got out of like deep witchcraft and occultism, I started calling all these churches, and that was the only church that called me back. And the guy came to pick us up and prayed with us, and he started bringing me and my girlfriend back and forth to church. And we moved away, but we would come back and forth to visit. And eventually they scraped off the service times off of their window, and they put aluminum foil over all the windows so you couldn't see in, and it said service by invite only. These people were in there. They got caught up doing like satanic sacrifices, animal mutilation, and child molestation. They were trading their kids out with one another and doing all of this demonic stuff. And there was big members of society in on it, teachers and business owners and pastors and all the people in law enforcement were all trading their kids out for sex at this church. It's like, man, where does that go from praising the Lord on Sunday morning to we sacrificing cats and trading each other's kids in the youth group? That is insane, man.
Well, you'd be surprised what people can.
I was going to that church, man. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. Wow. You'd be surprised what people can get away with under, and I'm not saying they get away with this stuff, but they use the laws about, protection of religion and stuff like that to kind of help themselves hide too, in a way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. There was the guy who led me to the Lord in 98. Someone came to visit our church here in Alabama, and we're big into the prophetic gifts of the Spirit, things like that. And he was kind of came with a rebuke. He said, you guys are really good at hearing God. You can see in the Spirit. You guys are speaking prophetically, moving in signs and wonders, but you can't discern that you have listed pedophiles, sex offenders in your church, sitting on the pews, and everyone's letting their children just run around and sit in these people's laps.
Oh boy, yeah.
You can't discern that this is because these people are registered, and you don't know that. No, they definitely hide in churches because you got weak-minded people, you got vulnerable people. Churches are full of people who couldn't do life, man. They need to be told what to do. The word religion comes from the Latin religio, which means to bind and to hold back. Like people who are at their wits' ends and they tried and they can't do it anymore. They hit rock bottom. Then where do you go? You go to church. It's a good thing, right? But you can see how people with ill intentions and wicked motives will take advantage over that and prey on these people. And it happens all the time.
Man, I can't believe that I didn't even know that was part of the show. I've watched every episode of that show, True Detective. Yeah. Wow, incredible.
True Detective. That's the one with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, that was like the first one, wasn't it? The very first one.
The first one. Yeah, yeah. It was Hosanna Assembly. I've got the article on my website. I talked about it on a couple podcasts, but yeah, it was insane. Like I wasn't going there when any of that happened. We moved away, but we would come back and visit, and but I'd never seen anything like that. It was just like a regular church, which is the crazy thing.
Whoa. All right. Oh, man. Yeah, I got to go check that out. That's pretty intense. 618 area code. You're on the air with TruthSeekah. Who are we speaking with?
Hey, this is Pat.
What's up, Pat? You got a question for
not much.
TruthSeekah?
Yeah, I don't mean to take the conversation back, but I got a question for him now. Jesus did go off for a while. We can all agree on that, correct?
Well, I mean,
yeah, you're talking about the lost years of Jesus, the childhood.
Yes.
To 14,
right.
Yeah.
But the childhood lost years, the Jewish people do have records of a lot of that because he was a rabbi. And also what I was going to ask you is they have records of him being in Kashmir, which is where they sent Mary and Joseph sent him to get his knowledge, basically. And they sent him to Kashmir. Have you looked into that or researched any of that?
I mean, I've definitely heard of it. I've looked into it. I'm more with the Egypt thing, right? Since they whisked him off to Egypt because Herod was killing all of the children that were being born at that time, and also looking at Moses. Moses was trained in all of the magic and all the ways of the Egyptians. So was Joseph, right? They even said Joseph was one of amazing stature and knowledge, that he has all the wisdom of the gods within him. And it was something about like taking this pilgrimage to Egypt, that you must take this pilgrimage to Egypt to be taught. So I look more into the Egyptian mystery side of it myself. But no, I've looked into some of the Indian philosophies as well. And there's a temple to Mary. They claim to have Mary's tomb in India as well, which is really interesting. So yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure, but it's definitely intriguing.
That's why I was bringing it up, because one of the things that they say they do have is they actually have the body of him there, because after the crucifixion, they took him. Basically, he went back to where he learned his stuff from, because they do have him wrote down that there was a cave where all the spiritual teachers all went to and stayed. And he actually was one of the teachers that went there. If you looked at up in the India research, they actually, like I said, have records of him.
Interesting.
So I was just wondering if you ever looked into that. It's good research if you ever get time to kind of delve into it a little.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sure. That's a pretty good point there. Thanks, Pat. Thanks for your call, brother. Very interesting question. Yeah, I look into that stuff too, and I think like, what are we? The whole Egypt thing, right? There's something to that, and I've looked into Daskalos's teachings as well, and he talks about that. He goes back to, I think, Akhenaten, and talks about that story, and then he's got a different tree of life. It's the only time I've ever seen, how the Kabbalists have the tree of life, but this one they have is different. And, does it come down to what books are we just willing to accept kind of thing? Because were the Hebrews right? Are they accounting for this directly? Because the Bible seems a little bit more metaphorical in ways, versus when you read stuff like that, it's more like documented things. But what is it all about? What we believe?
There's two things that I get out of it. I mean, first of all, as far as like, there's this whole debate now, zeitgeist and things like that. Jesus never existed. Well, you have so-called records from every religion on the face of the earth claiming that he was there, that he either taught their people or he was taught by their religious leaders. He's mentioned of in the Quran, and all these other Hindu scholars and these holy people have talked about encounters with Jesus and him being there. So that's one thing that's interesting, is that all the other religions are pointing to them or trying to claim him as one of their own, if you will. Oh yeah, he was taught in Egypt, or he was taught in, in our schools, or whatever the case is. So that's the interesting thing to note, is the fact that all of the religions are claiming that he was there. One of the things too is that understanding that a lot of the Gnostic text and a lot of these ideas are to disprove Christ, right? Is to say that he didn't die on the cross, or he was going to the cross, but then he didn't die on the cross. He was whisked away again, and fled to India with Mary Magdalene, and they had children and the Holy Grail, and he didn't go on the cross, which makes all of it a lie, which makes all Christianity, which makes the death, burial, and resurrection, him defeating death, and if he didn't die, then all of it's a farce. But you got to understand that there's all of these books, there's so many that were created to throw people off and to hijack it. A lot of times, once you really get into of walking out this road with God and having this relationship with the Holy Spirit, you can read and you see through the stuff. You can feel that it's a forgery. You can tell that they're trying to sound like the Bible in a lot of these other books, the Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of Mary Magdalene, a lot of these other ones. Not to mention that there is a lot of books that were taken out that were used by the early church. But then again, at the same time, there's so many books that are created to throw people off, to make people doubt, and to undo the Christian faith or whatever the case is. And it causes a lot of people to stumble, to doubt that beautiful thing that they've received, the revelation of Christ, and having an encounter with the living God. Oh, you didn't have an encounter because that's not true.
It was an alien, right?
All kind of stuff. Yeah, for sure.
So interesting. So you think, from what I've come to understand is the Gospel of Thomas is like the oldest carbon dated text that they found. And there's a lot of stuff in there that makes sense. And I'm glad you bring up the Gnostic text, because I was going to ask you about that. That's interesting. So you believe that, like the extra books of Moses, the Gospel of Thomas, the story of Mary Magdalene, and all this stuff was just to throw off the story of Christ?
Yeah, I believe a lot of the Gnostic stuff. I'm going to go back older if I'm going to look into some of these books. I mean, the whole thing is like, are there good things in it? For sure, 100%. There's some beautiful stuff in Thomas. Do I think that Thomas wrote it? Not by any means. Most scholars don't believe that anyway, even the people who vouch for it. And they'll tell you Thomas didn't write it. There's definitely some beautiful stuff in there. There's a saying in there. It says, if the kingdom of heaven is in the sky, then the birds precede you to the kingdom, and they're closer. If the kingdom of heaven is in, the ocean, then the fish precede you. But the kingdom of heaven is within you. And it's a beautiful sentiment, and it's really just echoing things from the Bible. There's a lot of those things that just keep popping up. The Urantia book. I mean, you could just go and go and go and go. And it's like, I
gave up on the Urantia book, man.
Fit in the Gospel of the Holy 12. I mean, there's so many that people have, there's not an end to any of the books. One of the interesting things Jesus did say, though, he said, look, if you was to write down all the exploits that I'm doing and I've done, there wouldn't be enough books in the world to fit them in. That was something interesting that Christ said. But, I don't think that they're inspired or they're true at all. They're not in there for a reason. And
so
again, what do you think? Off. You can't just believe anything, man.
Right. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, I learned that from a few guests too. Like, a lot of ideas are passed into books, and because we get this idea because they're in a book, that it makes it true in our head. But the ideas and things don't get challenged because they're in a book. And
the biggest thing for me, you're talking about a book. The book is a big one, but one of the biggest things I had to catch myself and still do is somebody who just presents it really well. Someone in a suit and a tie who seems sophisticated and who are speaking as an authoritative figure. But for some reason, I believe them. They've studied, they have an accent, maybe they're from the UK or something.
They can start cults
really
sound
well. Convincing for some reason. Hold on, just because this dude is saying it doesn't mean that it's truth. You're
right. Yeah, they can start cults really well too. I was calling them, like in the UFO field, we had a lot of UFO evangelists, and I was thinking, my God, these people are just eating this up just because people are saying it.
Yeah, because they're really convinced. They're great storytellers, man.
Yeah, right. And what happened to the people that actually, had a real experience? Like, I believe Travis Walton's experience was real, and a couple other people. We should be focused on things like that, and yet we're worried about like super soldiers and the 7 moons of Andromedas and the galactic war.
Muddies the water up, man.
And I'm thinking, what in the hell? Like, I think I read this in a comic book somewhere, but I don't know if it's real or not. So this is why I like to have people on and just pick their brain. Man, you're a podcaster. You understand it, right? I want to hear everybody's story, and that helps me to understand things. So what are your thoughts about Christ being in a scene? That's another thing I looked into with the Daskalos material, where him and John the Baptist they did learn this stuff from the mystery schools of the Essenes, but they kind of understood that Christ was kind of above them when it came to knowledge and ascension and stuff, and that goes into the baptism story. Do you believe any of that?
I've looked into a little bit of it. What I've seen from the Essenes and stuff like that. Just some devout people, mystics.
I don't know too much about it myself.
Yeah, I don't know enough to really say. I'm not like really studied up to say. I mean, I've looked into it, but
sure, Yeah, and you're kind of like me too. Like, hey, you can't study everything in the world, right? You can sure try to talk like you have, but there's no way, number one. But two, you know what works for you spiritually. And that's the kind of thing that gets me with this whole spiritual stuff. I get on here sometimes and try to talk by myself, man, and try to tell my story. And some of the things that have happened to me, I can't relay in words. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get it across to them. And I'm working on that. But there's also one big thing I think that trips people up with Christianity, and that is the whole Christ story. When they look into, obviously I'm sure you're familiar with it, with like Mithra and Horus and Osiris and all this stuff. It's like, well, they're just telling the same story over and over and over again. And so they talk as if that the Christ story was ripped off from these stories. But I don't look at it that way. I look at it like it's more like, yeah, it's still a fundamental truth though. So what, can you just use the knowledge? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple ways of looking into it. I mean, the hero's journey is just a story that's going to be repeated like forever. You know what I'm saying? And it's part of that story. The zeitgeist thing, threw a lot of people off, threw me off, but it sparked something in me to study more and to look into a lot of that stuff. And Jordan Maxwell, who did the forward, a lot of that was his research, that they did with the zeitgeist movement. And but there's something called the Zeitgeist Refuted or the Zeitgeist Challenge with a lot of scholars in those religions. Once you start reading and researching any of those religions, you find out that it has nothing to do with what these people in the zeitgeist were talking about. They're scholars from their own religions telling you, no, this is not true. It does not line up. It's not the same at all. And then you start doing your own research as a Berean, wanting to get to the bottom of it and find out. You're like, this doesn't look like it at all. And you find out again, it comes back to just someone in a suit and a well-produced video speaking as an authoritative figure. We just believed it because someone told us. We don't have any text. We don't have any proof. There's no history. But just because someone told you that Mithra had 12 disciples, that Horus had 12 disciples, man, that stuff is not documented anywhere.
It's hard to find. I couldn't find a lot of it.
I believed it because these people told me this. They lied to me, and I believed them.
Like when they were talking about Horus, that story did kind of line up. But a lot of the other stuff, though, like you're saying, like, when they did the movie, they put it down, they presented it very well, and they put it down in like all of this outline form, and that's to convince your brain. You can tell, like you should be smart enough to know that they're trying to push something on you when they do that. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll check some of this stuff out. They left a lot of details out, man. A lot of details that don't line up with the Christ story, or that they were really vague about certain things, like the sacrifice and the mother, and they made it seem like it was the exact same story. So you're right, it really wasn't.
Born of a virgin, died at came into ministry at 33, and no. They're reaching, man, for real. There's a Zeitgeist Challenge. If you can prove any of that stuff, I think nobody's ever done it. I think it was the $10,000 challenge that they had open, zeitgeistchallenge.com, I think it was. Anybody who can prove that stuff. It's crazy, man. It's the power of suggestion, man. It's the power of the internet, or there's kids on YouTube, man, really good people who are good with Photoshop and Sony Vegas and Premiere, who are putting together documentaries and convincing people of all kind of crazy stuff just because they're really good with, programs, and they put that music behind it and show you some footage and then get you to believe in anything, man. That's why we got to know truth, bro. We're out here seeking all these truths, watching all these documentaries, researching all this stuff, because we're trying to get to the bottom of it, man. But it's right in front of us the whole time, man.
Good point.
We're running from the very thing that that can save us, man.
All good points. Should be kind of obvious, but do we really do it? TruthSeekah saying, do your own research and then see what happens. Really look into this stuff. 1-800-588-0335. That's the number to call in if you got any questions. Stay with us.
This is Rev Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Get the Tea is the #1 cleansing tea in America. We cleanse you with organic ingredients, and when used daily, you can increase your energy. Cleanse from intruders that set up camp in your colon. Cleanse your colon and feel the difference. Colon cleanses can be uncomfortable. Not Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea is mild yet truly effective. Cleanse your insides every day. Easy to make, easy to use, and feel the results. Here's how to order. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Look for our specials on the front page. Get the Tea also carries top-rated supplements for those who care about their health naturally. Again, log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com and feel the results. And for those of you that arm yourself with information, come to our webinar every other Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. That's every other Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific. You can sign up at getthetea.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hi, this is David Oman with HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of the Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Alex Exum.
This is Alex Exum of the Exum Experience in Live Talk, where we discuss current events, society, and culture. My shows are based in actuality, actual existence, contrasted with what was intended, expected, or believed. You can listen to me live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
This is Reverend John M. Polk, and you are listening to KTLK Digital Broadcasting right here on the Fringe.fm.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. Our guest tonight, TruthSeekah. Go check out the podcast as well. Go check out his brand new book. He talks about the spirit realm, angels, demons. That's the kind of stuff people want to hear about, right? You remember TruthSeekah when that movie came out? What was it? With Tom Hanks, Angels and Demons? That was a big hit, right? Because everybody wants to know what the truth is about angels and demons. And I can tell you this from all of my studies, man, and all of my experiences, this is what really, really keeps me coming back to the Christian story, is because I know, just based on my experience, that angels and demons are very real things. Shouldn't that tell us enough there? Don't you think like that should tell us enough about the story? Or is it not enough? Why do people still question knowing, even after they have experiences with demonic things?
Looking for power, again, going back and looking for that alternative, man. For me, I think that's what it was. You know, I started out in the occult side and the dark side, and from having encounters, it piqued my interest to want to know more. And so that's the easy side, right? You're like, you know, it's inclusive. There's really no standards. You just kind of make it up as you go. There's just so much, you know, with the dark side. And so I started out there, and then I got into Christianity later. But I think a lot of people, again, they just want an alternative to Christianity, and they don't care what it is, man. You were talking about the Masons earlier, like it almost seems like looking at like Scientology was like a form of Masonry, that you have to have a religion when you come in. You have to be a God-fearing person. You have to have some type of religion. So some say that at the higher levels, you have to denounce that religion. So you have to come in with the religion. It almost seems like even Scientology was something made up just to have a religion, to be numbered amongst the Masonic orders and things like that, right? You got to have something other than, you know, the main religions.
Yeah. So you say you started out like with the dark stuff. So did you do like black magic kind of stuff? Is that what you got? Did you ever get involved in that?
Yeah, as a misguided teen, bro, you know, I was just always infatuated with the dark arts, man, and started getting witchcraft books, and, you know, always watching supernatural movies and horror movies and stuff that had to deal with the occult, and it just always piqued my interest. And I would read the books, and then people would tell me that it wasn't real, and it was like, man, I wish it was real. And reading stuff about like shooting fireballs out of your hand and just all kind of crazy stuff out of this world. And so I started getting into the occult stuff, and then I met a warlock when I was 13, and this guy was deep into it, and he lived right down the road, and he would have parties at his house every weekend, and tons of teenagers would come over because he'd just let people drink and smoke and sleep over or whatever. People would go over there and party every weekend, and we'd stay up drinking with him, and I'd just pick his brain all night about the occult and about demons and what has he seen and what is real, you know, and that kind of stuff. So I got into the occult there, and started getting in really deep, and started teaching us all kind of stuff. And I ended up getting demonically possessed.
What?
Opening up my mind, dealing with these spirits, trying to make pacts and communion with these entities. And I did like all these different rituals out of these books, and none of them worked until one day they all worked at the same time. And I felt like a portal opened up, and these entities would just suck me into this other realm, and I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think, and I could just see shapes and colors and hear voices, and they're speaking foreign languages. And then I would zoom back into my body, couldn't breathe, heart was racing, my skin would turn pale, and I'd be pulled in and out of these trances, man, at their will. And my health started to go downhill, and started coughing up blood on a daily basis. And that's what kind of led me to this desperation for God, man, making these pacts with these demons and going schizophrenic within my mind. And it just got crazy. real wild, man. And so before that, though, I had an encounter with God a couple years before that. I got really bad, where I went to a prayer meeting, and we were living with this guy, and his son was a minister, and he's inviting me to church. I never wanted to go to church. He wanted to invite me to a prayer meeting. Didn't want to go to that either, but he said that there was going to be a prophet at this prayer meeting, and he wanted me to come. And I said, well, what's a prophet? He said, well, a prophet is it's kind of like a Christian psychic. And that caught my interest because I was into that kind of stuff, So I went to this prayer meeting back in 1998 and seeing everybody praying and praising God and worshiping in the spirit with their eyes closed, but it seemed like they were somewhere else. Some of them were crying. There was just this blissful, beautiful spirit that everyone was in. And one of the guys came up to me, sat down beside me and said, hey, Derek, would you like to ask Jesus to come into your life and forgive you of your sins? And I said, yeah. And so I prayed this prayer of just asking God to come into my life, wash me of all of my sins, forgive me of any wrong that I've done, acknowledging what he's done on the cross for my sins. And immediately I felt this beautiful, euphoric fire come into my body and cleanse out like every bad thing that I had ever done, every sin, every lie that I told, everything that I've stolen, every secret thing that I've hidden from people and didn't want nobody to find out, all that nasty stuff. It just come through and cleansed it out. And I began to shake and vibrate and begin to weep. And my body just got really, really hot. And it was just the most beautiful cleansing experience. And that was in 1998 when I started doing the Christian thing for a couple months until I started to backslide, as they call it. And then I got into the occult. And that was about a 2-year period until it kind of peaked into getting pulled in and out of these trances by these demons and stuff.
Whoa, man, that is intense. So you talk about getting hot. I've had that experience too when I've had like a body separation where I felt really hot, almost if I was in a fire, almost. But
did it feel good?
Yeah, it kind of did. It felt relaxing, but it was really hot. It almost was like, man, that feels like I'm in a fire almost, but it didn't burn me. It just felt like I was releasing, kind of deal. But yeah, that's a trip, man. So you've actually been possessed. You might be the only person I've ever talked to on here that's been really possessed like that. And I've had like 400 something episodes.
The screaming come out of him, and like crazy. Like, know what's going on mentally. And it was a long, hard road, dude. Like coming out of that stuff, them things did not want to let me go. When I reached rock bottom, that's when I, like I mentioned earlier, started calling all these churches and I said, hey, I need prayer. I got demons, man. And finally one church called me back. They came and, prayed with us and was picking us up, bringing us back and forth to this church that we were going to. Like I said, that was in September 7th of 2000 that happened. And, but just coming out of that, man, it was so hard. I would have panic attacks and have this nightmares, waking up screaming at the top of my lungs, and man, just like spiritual warfare being done over me while I'm asleep, and these demons are not wanting to let me go. And so that process of walking that stuff out was intense. And it's still intense. You know what I'm saying?
The more I think about it, all right, so I'll tell you the story and then you tell me what you think happened. So, I had a bout of opiate addiction a few years back. Well, yeah. And I was trying to get over this thing. Like it was rough, the withdrawals from it and everything. That's why a lot of people don't get out of it, because they can't deal with the withdrawals.
Yeah.
And for good reason. It's tough, man. And, it was like the third night I'm sleeping on my couch and I was talking to a friend of mine and I'm thinking, all right, my body's slipping. Like I could feel, how you're falling asleep or slipping kind of thing. And as I start going into hypnagogia, I hear it's so deep, man, too. It's like one of those sleeps that you're falling in and there's no way you can get out. You're going down, but you can feel your way slipping all the way through it. And I can hear growling and voices and stuff all around my room, man. Just like that kind of thing. It sounded like, you seen that movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze?
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like. Those things. And they were all around.
No, I've seen those jokers, bro.
What is that? Man, I was even talking on the phone with my friend. I'm like, I can hear these voices, but I can't wake up. And you know, she was like, it's okay, just keep going, you'll be fine. And I'm like, I don't know, man, like it don't feel fine, you know. What you said you had experiences with them too?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, I've had a lot of them where they're just kind of like vague in the shadows of the corners of the rooms and those kind of things.
Yeah.
But there was one time, and I write about this in the book, when I was dealing with the warlock. I was living in Louisiana, but my girlfriend was in Alabama. My mom brought me to Alabama for the weekend for my birthday, so I can hang out with my girlfriend. I was going to stay with a friend, and stayed with that friend, and we were hanging out, and then I stole a bunch of stuff from him, video games, T-shirts, that kind of stuff, because Monday morning my mom would come back, pick me and my cousin up, and we would go back home to Louisiana. So I'm staying with one friend Friday night. Saturday night, stay with another friend, stole a bunch of stuff from them. Sunday night, my mom's supposed to come. Mom never shows up. Then stay with two friends. Got to find somewhere else to stay. We stay at my girlfriend's house in her treehouse. We snuck there. Her parents didn't know we were there. We slept in her treehouse. Monday night, my mom still didn't show up. She had car trouble. Car broke down. She couldn't come get us. So she was getting her car worked on. So we were having to find places to stay. Every friend that I was staying with, I was stealing video games, T-shirts, and CDs from them, controllers. So I go and stay with the warlock one night. And I put my duffel bag with all of this stuff in it across the street at another friend's house. So it's in his closet. So it's my duffel bag's in there full of all of this stuff and waiting for my mom to come get us. Well, we stayed with the warlock one night, and I ended up stealing a game from him. I stole a Dungeons and Dragons Nintendo game, and I brought it next door, put it in the bag. So I think it was like Tuesday night or so. We're chilling at the warlock's house. Everybody's over there. We're gonna have a big party. We're sitting on the couch. Me and my cousins inside. A bunch of people. They're getting ready to smoke a joint, and there's all these other older people there who I've never seen before, and they were all wearing all black, and these guys were into gang activity, and they were into the insane gangster disciples, like mixing occultism with gang activity. They would read the Bible upside down, and you have to learn all the knowledge and recite and make pacts with demons. Crazy far out witchcraft that he was involved in, and these people were over there. And I look up, somebody walks through the door, and one of my friends walks through the door holding the Dungeons and Dragons video game that I stole from the warlock.
What?
And he walks over to him and he hands it to him. And we're like sitting in a circle, essentially. There's people everywhere.
You're freaking
we're
out.
Sitting in a circle. Yeah. He hands it to him, and they look at each other, and they shake their head, yeah. And they just acknowledge, yeah. One person got up, goes to the back. Next one gets up, goes to the back. Since they're in the gang activity, I feel like we're fixing to get tied up or beat up with baseball bats or something, right? So when all of them got up, all the warlocks went to the back of the house, and I looked at my cousin and said, we got to go now. He said, why? They're fixing to smoke a joint. There's girls here. I said, no, we got to go now. What? What's up? I said, let's go. So we get up and walk outside. I said, bro, they found the video game that I stole. I said, bro, we got to go. So there was some random guy out there with a bunch of girls around his car. And I said, hey, bro, can you give us a ride down the street? He said, sure, man, jump in, whatever. So he gives us a ride down the street, and we go to my girlfriend's house. We're going to try to go to her treehouse and try to get back there and crash again for the night. He drops us off down the street, and we're kind of like hiding in the bushes by this open field, getting ready to run to the treehouse make sure her parents don't see us or the dogs are outside or anything like that. So we're hiding kind of in the bushes, and the sun's starting to go down. And there's this light that's going back and forth in the yard. And it almost seemed to hypnotize us. And I thought it was her dad with the flashlight, but we seemed like we watched that light trying to see it go away for about 45 minutes until...
Make sure nobody was there so you could run for it.
Yeah, exactly. And then the sun was starting to go down, so we go around to the side of the tree line by the open field. And when we did, this... only way I can describe it was this huge 8-foot tall entity that looked like a camel, darker than the blackest of night, like one of those entities on Ghost, ran past both of us, screamed, and knocked both of us to the ground and dissipated in the thin air right when it passed us. We got up, shook, freaked out, ran as fast as we could to the treehouse. And that was like the defining moment to where things started to go downhill for me, when I stole something from the warlock. And then when I would get into trying to, you would think that would,
man. They put a hex on you.
That would, keep me away from it. Hey, don't mess with this, man. This is dark. This is real. Don't mess with it. But it piqued my interest, because I was like, if I can get good enough like him, then I can summon entities to go out and grab my belongings and bring them back, or go out and do harm to people, knock people over, whatever it was. Come to find out, he had a protection spell on his belongings that the entities would go and bring back to him, and then go out and haunt the people who stole from him. And that was when everything started to go down for me. I began to hear voices and be up by myself in the woods at night. We lived in the woods, and I'd hear stuff screaming in the forest, and the wind would blow through my house, just like in the movies, 100%. The wind would blow through the house, and it would do whispering. Don't know what they saying, whispering. And it was like, I'm scared to death, dude.
How old were you again when this happened?
I was 13.
My God, 13. Dude.
Yeah. Opening the doors to this stuff, dude. And it's like, I was going, at the end, I was going schizophrenic, like losing my mind. I couldn't look at nobody in the face, couldn't talk to anyone, hearing voices, thought everybody was looking at me. And so when I'm vocal about my faith in Christ, man, it's for good reason.
It's the one thing that pulled you out, right?
He shut those doors. The Bible says that Jesus is able to shut doors that no man can shut. He's able to open doors that no man can open. So we open up doors knowingly and unknowingly in the spirit realm that we can't shut. You've opened Pandora's box. How the hell are you going to close it? Well, chanting and incantations and, burning sage. No, it ain't that easy.
No, that sounds something heavy, man. I never heard of that. Bro.
These things are smarter than us. We think we got it figured out, dude. So that's why I talk about my faith, man, because I was at wit's end, bro, and I'm here. I made it out.
So when
not
you
everybody
say
makes it out,
they're smarter than us, does that make you kind of think like, all right, how do these books get written on how, if like a demon was really smart and these thought forms, elementals and negative entities and stuff like this are real, and they can get in people's minds, couldn't they easily just work through somebody to write a book down? Like, this is how you get me out. Right?
The
that
Bible.
Kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking all kinds of stuff after hearing that story, man. That's scary, dude.
Yeah, no, I don't think they want to get out. I think that even in the Testament of Solomon, which is an interesting book that I definitely vouch for that, Solomon had authority over the demons, and he made them tell him how they get out, what star systems bind them, and what angels, were over them. So that's what Solomon did, and he wrote all that down in the Testament of Solomon. But it goes into getting a lot deeper into Solomonic magic and a bunch of crazy that I don't think it was supposed to get into, right? But so as far as like the demons writing the stuff, they pretty much got those texts from the demons. We're talking about the incubus and the succubus. Yeah. And spirits that are getting on men in the middle of the night while they're asleep. Like it talks about that in the Testament of Solomon, the succubus making men have.
I had one of those. I think I had one of those give me a false awakening once, but where I was stuck in a dream that I couldn't get out of, or I couldn't wake up when I thought I was dead. It was a hooded figure with it looked like it was wearing pale makeup or something. I only caught it for a second and I was done with it after that,
I'll tell you a story that the warlock told me that I remember. And it's a little graphic. We'll talk about it. I think we can.
We're getting into the third hour, so we can talk about it. I think the kids are in bed, anyways.
I think so.
So, but that has got to be like I've had some horrifying stuff happen to me, man. But that scares the hell out of me thinking about. So this thing comes out of nowhere, comes running at you guys, and it looks as tall as a camel. Dark,
8 foot tall,
and like gives y'all the clothesline, kind of like WWE style.
Yeah.
Yep. You just wake up in the yard or something.
Yeah, well, we just get up off the ground. Like, what was that? What the hell? But we knew, like, we were still scared. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we still felt the energy from, dealing with this warlock.
Yeah, put the fear in you big time.
There was an energy, yeah, man. And no, it was scary, but like I said, it opened up doors for me I want to get good. You know, I want to get good at this. I want to be like him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I want to do that.
See where,
yeah.
But that guy was tormented, bro. That's what I want to say. Like, that guy was tormented, and he would wake up. He'd tell me stories about waking up in the middle of the night and thinking that everybody was at his house and these parties and stuff. And he would hear people talking, and then he'd walk out and there would be nobody in the house, but he would hear all these people, you know, voices. And there was this one instance, he said that he would walk into rooms and the lights would turn on in the rooms and the spirits were turning the lights on. And that sounded cool to me. But even then he was telling me that it was they would torment him, man.
Yeah. Well, he was scared.
Come to him in the middle of the night and in the dreams. And he said he woke up one night, man, and there was a beautiful woman laying in bed with him naked. And he's making out with her. He's making out with her, making love to her. And then he starts to go down on her. And when he goes down to, you know, he smells the most vile stench garbage he's ever smelled in his life that turned his stomach. And when he looked up, she disappeared. He said that night he had a dream, and in the dream, this wolf dove through his window and bit him on his stomach. And after that, he was stricken with stomach ulcers for like several months after that.
Dude, this is some intense stuff, man. It's a good thing you got out of there, for sure. Yeah, like we're at the top of the hour.
I made it out.
Yeah, you made it. Yeah, you definitely made it out. I'm glad you did, too. We'll be right back. If you guys got any questions, it's 1-800-588-0335. Stay with us. TruthSeekah.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Listen, I want to tell you about G.I. Joy from GetTheTea.com. It's the best alchemical concoction of goodies for your stomach and digestive system I can recommend, and that's all based on my experience. Packed with colostrum, acidophilus, aloe, peppermint, and turmeric. If you do your own research, then you know this is the bee's knees for the stomach and digestion. Now, due to Big Brother's ears and the eye in the sky, you know I can't go into the details about what it helped me with. All I can say is I got relief. It's non-GMO, no fillers, no preservatives, manufactured right here in the US of A, and delivered to you by the only people who stay on top of the game and are out in front. Go grab a bottle of G.I. Joy at GetTheTea.com and see what all the fuss is about. Again, that's GetTheTea.com.
AncientLifeOil.com. For your CBD needs, just remember, AncientLifeOil.com. What does it do for the body, you ask? I can't say due to the people in the suits that run the industry. Big Pharma's all over CBD because of its well, you know what I mean. Research the benefits of CBD on Google and come back to AncientLifeOil.com and purchase your CBD today. Non-GMO and all organic. You don't want to be using a petroleum product. You want to be using the cleanest CBD product on the market. AncientLifeOil.com. We even have CBD for your pet. Help your pet's discomfort. Help your discomfort. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Newly reduced prices to pass off the savings to the most important person. You. AncientLifeOil.com. And one more thing, we have topicals too. So if you have joint pain and some different issues that are going on in your body, you might want to use a topical. Think about it. AncientLifeOil.com.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fringe FM. See you then.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Root. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, aka Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
You can tug all day long on a carpet that's been glued to the floor. Then you hurt. There are many strong glues out there. Let's see, there's liquid nails and Gorilla Glue. You ever try to remove 3M 5200? That adhesive is strong. Then there's bathroom caulk, silicone rubber, adhesive tape, super glue, flex tape, and stickers. Graffiti. Scientists have come up with glues that stay stuck and can't be removed. Until now. Until Handyman Formula by DeBond. That's right. 95% of adhesives become unstuck when you spray Handyman Formula directly on them. Just spray, wait a few minutes, and remove. It's amazing. Most adhesives become unstuck when you use Handyman Formula. Visit DeBondCorporation.com or MCMaster.com. Call 561-575-4200. This stuff really works. Handyman Formula by DeBond, a great Christmas gift.
Ever seen an extraterrestrial? It can be hard to believe they exist unless you've seen one for yourself. What if I told you I've seen them my whole life, but have never had a witness who shared the encounter with me? Now, what if I told you I saw 4 of them, 2 with blue skin, and there are over 20 witnesses to this CE5 event? My new book, The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, documents actual accounts from real witnesses, many of which have gone on record to attest to this otherworldly reality. Be a part of the quantum paradigm shift that is taking place right now. Go to johnpolkmedia.com to get your copy of The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference, on sale right now at johnpolkmedia.com. That's JOHNPOLK media.com.
This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie. Scientists have discovered a jellyfish-like parasite that doesn't have a mitochondrial genome. And it's the first multicellular organism known to have this absence, which means it doesn't breathe. In fact, it lives its life completely free of oxygen dependency. A team of researchers at Tel Aviv University in Israel decided to take another look at a common salmon parasite. Over time, these organisms have devolved from a free-living jellyfish ancestor to a much more simple parasite. The presence of mitochondria is necessary for creating oxygen, and the absence of it in the 10-celled parasite indicates the animal was not breathing oxygen. Researchers have found that the organism lost both its mitochondrial genome and its nuclear genes involved in the transcription and replication of the genome. Dorothy Hutchin, an evolutionary biologist at Tel Aviv University in Israel, says they've lost their tissue, their nerve cells, their muscles, and everything, and now we find they've lost their ability to breathe. Hutchin continues, animals are always thought to be multicellular organisms with a lot of genes that evolve to be more and more complex. Here we see an organism that goes completely the opposite way. They've evolved to be almost unicellular. Staff and volunteer who work at Torquay Museum have witnessed frequent occurrences of paranormal activity, and they believe it to be the ghost of Agatha Christie. The museum holds the UK's only Agatha Christie collection with relics from her childhood days. The staff who have seen flying books think the strange phenomenon is linked to a ladder in the corner of the room, which was made from wood from Christie's childhood home, which had been demolished. Museum staff explained what they witnessed.
We were over there, the lady was over here, and all of a sudden the book just shot off the shelf onto the floor.
And when the lady walked past here, the one that's on the end just flew off the shelf as well in front of her. And this was on Tuesday.
It's true, it's quite...
Legendary physicist Freeman Dyson has passed away at age 96 in New Jersey. Dyson first became widely known for important work in the late 1940s on the interactions between light and matter. Dyson's most famous idea was the Dyson sphere, a hypothetical structure a civilization might build around a star to enclose it and harness its energy. Dyson said, "It's conceivable that in another 10 billion years, life could evolve away from flesh and blood and become embodied in an interstellar black cloud or in a sentient computer." This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. We're with TruthSeekah tonight. First time he's ever been on Lighting the Void, and I got to say, it's been a very interesting, compelling, and educational conversation. And you know what? I think it's time that we tell everybody what your book, how to get your book. But also, before we do that, please, if you can support the show, this show actually does run on your support. The network runs on the ads. It all kind of balances out. But if you can support the show, please do. Just hit the donate button down there. Grab some Void Walker swag at the shop, lightingthevoid.com/shop. So, TruthSeekah, your book, man, you talk about a lot of this stuff in your book. I can't wait to read your book now. After hearing you telling me these stories, you probably got some stuff in there that I want to hear about now. And I got the book on Kindle. So,
yep.
I respect that. I respect somebody that's willing to tell. A lot of people won't tell stories like that, man. They're too afraid that, you know, somebody might judge them for it, or somebody might think bad that they touch this stuff. But to me,
they will.
Like, but
it's not somebody might, but they will.
Yeah, but you're human, man. That's all it tells me. You're human. You got your own story. You know, we all get vulnerable. We all hurt. We all want better things in our life, you know, especially when we're young. And your book, Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God. That's an interesting word you use there, the sovereignty. Why did you subtitle it that?
I think that word gets closes a lot of doors with a lot of mystical and occult podcasts. Even though I'm willing to have the conversation, they see the word God there, and then sovereignty of God. For me, it was just the sovereignty of God is the whole order of all of this stuff, that at the end of the day, that God, the creator, is sovereign, right? Behold, I'm the Lord thy God. I create light and darkness. I create good and evil. And I take you on this journey through the scriptures where God is sending out evil angels, as it words it in the Bible.
That's Isaiah 45. I know that one good. Isaiah 45:7, I think. Yeah.
Sends out spirits of infirmities, messengers of Satan, that Paul, the Apostle Paul in the New Testament, is begging God to take away this infirmity, this sickness or whatever he's having in his body. That's a messenger of Satan, which is we would call a demon. And he says, no, my grace is sufficient. I want you to lean upon my grace. I sent this to you to buffet you, it says, to buffet you, to wax you, for you to come out of the other side as fine gold. It's really because he was becoming prideful and arrogant. And we're talking about the ecosystem and just the way cause and effect and the way things happen. And look, you get prideful, you get arrogant, you got to sit down. You're gonna, and so there's demons or sicknesses or whatever you want to call them that are loose. It's the natural order. It's the ecosystem, again, the sovereignty of God. And that's what I paint that picture, because in Christianity, there's this weird dualism that people believe that it's God against Satan or God against Lucifer. And there's this war and this fight that they're fighting over. And then Satan thinks that he's going to overthrow God in the final battle of Armageddon and all of this kind of stuff, right? That's not the picture that the Bible paints at all. That if there is a Satan, he's a created being with a job and a role to carry out to tempt mankind. So essentially, Satan is not God's enemy. Satan is our enemy, the negative, but he works for good, to buffet you, you know, to try you in the fire of God. But it's, you know, these lower level entities that's how they operate. So for me, that's what it is. It's showing you how all things work together for your good. You know, what we would call good or bad. All things are good.
Even the bad things that we go through.
Harm.
Right.
What the enemy meant for your harm, God will in turn use for your good. So understanding that and how these spirits operate, presenting themselves before God. We see that in Job. There's other scriptures in Kings and Isaiah where the spirits would literally have a meeting. God would be in heaven and say, I want to, you know, these people down here are acting foolishly. I need to correct them. I need to punish them. I need to turn their hearts back to me. And these spirits would come before God and say, hey, let me go down and let me confuse their speech. No, let me go down and let me be a spirit of deep sleep upon them. Let me close their eyes of their prophets so they can't see. And they would like have these debates begging to come down to deal with mankind. And so that's a sovereign process that is all part of the whole ecosystem of heaven in the hierarchy of angels.
Yeah, that's well said, man. Beautifully said. I totally believe that, man. Like I've read a lot of books, man, like Agrippa, Manly P. Hall, Eliphas Levi, all that stuff. And it's funny, you know, these guys, they come from churches. They talk about these leagues of angels, John D., all this stuff. And it's like, well, there's a lot of, you know, even this book I'm reading by Rufus Opus, where he talks about the seven spheres and planetary magic. He talks about, you know, hey, I wanted money and, you know, I wanted to do money magic. So I kind of started out with demons and realized it was real, but things were hard. And now, you know, he kind of talks about why he works with angels now, because it just turns out he has a much more abundant life that way. And I'm thinking, why don't we start that way? I mean, isn't that kind of obvious, right? But I think we get power hungry real quick, especially when we get that idea like, hey, you know, this stuff is real. We can actually do this stuff. Well, it's just something I want to ask you about. The human potential. What kinds of things are we capable of, do you think, as humans? If we really woke up and said, you know, we tapped into our spiritual potential, what are we capable of, do you think?
Man, I think that that's different for everybody. I think that there's a scripture in the Bible that says that all things are possible to them that believe. And I believe that. I believe that if you believe it, then you can receive it, that you create it. The law of attraction, manifestation. I think that works with entities as well, spirits as well. If you believe in it, it becomes real, even if it's only to you. In that book, there's so many encounters that I talk about, but, you know, I had for the most part, had the imagination to believe it was real. And there's a difference between of having an encounter with, like, in the spirit realm or with your eyes closed or whatever you've thought you've seen, but versus having something like come through on this side. You were able to manifest an entity that appeared to you. You know, it started out with having encounters when I was a little kid and having spirit beings, or what people would call sleep paralysis, and these spirits on me, and I would see them in the middle of the night. And then having that demon or entity manifest when I was 13 and knocked me and my cousin down, these things where it crossed over. You know, I think those experiences like that just helped me to believe in the unbelievable. You know, most people don't believe in that stuff. Even after me sharing those stories, people think that I'm lying or, you know, stretching the truth or something like that. But I've had so many. Some people have never had any, and I've had so many. I've had fairy encounters, UFO encounters, UFOs that show up and angels that show up at will, casting out demons, like divine miracles. So many things is because I've had the ability in the realm to believe it. And so the scriptures comes back to, like, whatsoever that a man thinketh in his heart, so shall he be. Whatever you have the faith to believe for, it's going to be added unto you of your belief. And I believe that you'll see it. So we're talking about psychic abilities. We're talking about divine healings. We're talking about levitation. We're talking about astral travel. We're talking about all of this stuff, man. You have to have the faith to believe it, of something that you can't see right now, or maybe you've heard stories or you watched the documentary. And there's a big thing with this too, with even the fake stuff that me and you were talking about. There's so many charlatans out there, but even though their stories are fake, they are birthing something in the consciousness of the people that think that it's real, and they're trying it, and they're getting results off of someone who was a charlatan faking these encounters, whether it was with angels or miraculous healings or whatever. And that is crazy too, to understand the placebo, and you find what you're looking for and you have the ability to manifest it.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Like the placebo is a trip. The double slit experiment, it's a trip. Like we ought to be able to look at that and go, okay, everything that I just believed is, see, that's what happened to me, is like after the out-of-body experience, everything I believed made me look at everything else. But you brought up aliens and UFOs. So if God makes up everything and all things like you talk about, well, what are these things? Like when people have encounters, like say Whitley Strieber or Travis or somebody like a gray alien, do you think that these are just what they actually are, like aliens, or do you think that they're watchers? Like some people say, well, they're the same thing as angels, like you were talking about. What's your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times with some of those scary demonic type experiences, I think that's exactly what they are. They're demonic experiences. They're demons. I think that people are waking up in their bed and having entities at the foot of their bed, and having these encounters and feeling like they're in another realm, feeling like they're in another place. And so what they liken it to is some type of alien abduction scenario. I don't really believe in the evil alien agenda. At least not as far as the evil aliens. They're here. Mm-hmm. They're on this earth. They're running the government. They are some would call the reptilians, or what the Bible would call the seed of the serpent, and they're running the show right now. We're voting on who we want to pick today, and who's your favorite one. When it comes to the evil and everything that I've experienced that was outside of the atmosphere that came into the Earth's atmosphere has been beautiful. It's been a beautiful, angelic, lovely experience. The demonic and lower base stuff was stuff that was here trapped in these dimensions. And so going back to that, like the angels that fell were kicked out of heaven. They fell from heaven. Heaven is the sky. When we gaze up at the stars, those are the heavens. It's the same word in the Bible. I gaze into the heavens and beheld, I seen this, I seen that, the chariots of fire, those things. Like the fallen angels are called fallen angels for a reason, because they fell out of heaven and they can't go back up there. They're trapped here on the earth in chains of darkness. Their children, the children of the Nephilim, as the book of Enoch and some scriptures in the Bible would talk about, that those spirits and those children are the evil, wicked spirits here on the earth that are deceiving mankind, trying to make pacts and share secrets and things like that with mankind. So there's a difference there when it comes to people having demonic encounters and just kind of mixing it in with the UFO phenomena. I'm having angelic encounters and I've mixed it in with UFO phenomena. So that should tell you that there's definitely something on the other side of people having demonic encounters and saying that it's UFOs. Yeah, so I got to tell you the story then, man, and because I'm so curious about what you're thinking, and I'll shorten it up because I've told it a million times. But after I had the out-of-body experience, there was one time at night I was trying to get out of body, and I could feel like my upper half trying to come out. Now, I don't know what's real or what's not about that. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I got frustrated. And I thought, man, like I want to do this. And so this voice came through me that sounded, I swear, I know this sounds funny, but it sounded like James Earl Jones. And it was so deep and powerful. And I was like, I command you to release me by light and life. I don't even know where that voice came from, honestly. But as soon as I started coming out, these Rorschach looking black blobby things, they look like they come out of the corner of my ceiling almost. And I immediately just attacked me and pushed me and shoved me back in. Now, I've had a lot of people tell me those are different things. Guides, spirits, whatever, demons. I'm curious about what you might think they are. Yeah, I mean, it sounds similar to, those spirits that I was dealing with. I mean, and I guess my question for you would be, what were you doing in your life? Like, what type of person were you at that time? Were you involved in... No. Were you involved in anything demonic at all? Was you in You know, was you lying a lot? Was you stealing? Was you in bad relationship? Was you abusing women? Like, what kind of life was you living as well? Because I feel like when we tap into the spirit realm, those are the entities that we're going to interface with. Is what the type of vibrational beings that we're entertaining. And so for those who are doing alms and beautiful things and helping people and serving the poor and things like that, like once you tap into the spirit realm, you're in such a high vibration, you're interacting with
just happened.
Higher beings.
I see what you're saying. And the reason why I'm doing it is because just a week before I had the most beautiful out of body experience. But I wasn't, to be honest with you, it's embarrassing to say, man. I wasn't doing anything with my life. I was living, and that's probably bad, right? I mean, I was being a hermit, seeking knowledge, basically. That's it. And I would hear people talk about this stuff and read about it. And that's all I wanted to do was figure it out, because I thought, you know, hey, if I can look into these realms that I always thought were just not real, but now I know they are, then maybe I can see the truth, you know? Yep. Maybe I can see it with my own eyes, kind of thing. And a couple of times I had some good experiences, and a couple of times it felt like things just didn't want me to do it. It didn't hurt me, right? It was just more like, hey, no, get back in, you know, that kind of thing. It happened so fast though, man. It was crazy. But maybe my mind just didn't want to see what it really was or something. I don't know.
Man, it could have been any of those things. And that's the beauty of it, of having this discussion, is trying to figure it out. It was something, you know, trying to get to the bottom of it and figure out what it was. And I mean, there's so many theories and just so many things that I've kind of like downloaded and putting pieces together. There are beings that are over different levels and dimensions, man. They're guarding over it, protecting it. And when you pop into the dimension, you're going to interface with them. And if you're not ready, you're not ready. You're not allowed to be there. You know what I'm saying? So it could have been something like that. You're trying to tap into this dimension that you haven't done the homework for. Right. You don't have a pass. You know, you can't. There's certain neighborhoods that you can't go in on the earth unless you have a pass.
That's so crazy.
You got to be with somebody. You got to be with somebody. You know.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
As long as you're with me, we can go. But if you don't come back here by yourself, as long as we're together, you can come here. Just tell them you know me. There's some of those cities too. Just tell them you know me. Everything's good.
Wow.
Who do you know?
Yeah. See, I think I know what you're saying. You know, and it's also funny too. Like Manly P. Hall talked about that. He said all these exoteric buildings you see with all these mystery schools, they're just exoteric, kind of like living symbols of the real mystery school that's inside you. The real temples are inside you. The real place is inside you. And only you know, if you've been approached by a master, only you and you alone will know that. Right? And it's like, what is he talking about, man? You know, like that really made me curious. What is he talking about? Is he talking about the spirit realm? That's where the internal masters are. And I feel like after listening to your story, you've had a lot more experience with this stuff than me. So are there like hidden masters and guides and stuff in there that help you, like you're talking about, in a good way though?
Man, so Jesus has been my ascended master, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like he's the greatest of them all. You know, he was here since the beginning. He was the first born among many brethren. He was, with the Father when he created all this stuff, and we have direct access to go to him. And for me, it's like I'm into the lower stuff, but it's like it's a slap in the face in a sense, because I have access to go straight to the one who made this stuff. He created these dimensions. He created the angels, and he likes to blow our minds, right? The God, the creator, he likes to blow our minds with us trying to figure this stuff out. And, but so I feel like it's kind of a slap in the face when we say, I don't want Jesus. I want this other spirit. I want the spirit of my dead uncle to guide me. You know what I'm saying? Or I want the spirit that used to live in this house to speak to me tonight. Whatever, we find all other reasons when we have the ability to go straight to God the Father, to Jesus, and to the Holy Spirit, which is the highest vibrational form of love. Jesus is love that became a person and dwelt among men. So for us to choose other routes, it's like, hold on, even the psychology behind that. why am I trying to get in by another means? Why am I trying to get in another way? Is it because I won't be accepted as I am? Is it because of, this
you don't
reminds
feel good
me
enough or something, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different reasons for so many people. Trust me, I talk to people all the time who are so-called spiritual people, and you mention Jesus and they get mad. I mention how beautiful Jesus is and they get angry, of talking about my experiences, and they're trying to talk them down, and you find out where people are, and it's that name that kind of cuts, and it's offensive to people, man. It's the demons respond to it. These people have demons in them, and then you're not, it ain't nothing to do with the person. It's the stuff that they have going on within them,
That's the battle they're going through.
Issues which the demons hide behind through thought forms, ideas, and patterns within their lives.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that you say that, because when I got caught in that, false awakening, right, where I thought, man, I'm dead, because I kept waking up and, really wasn't awoke. And it was after I saw that hooded figure, like, I think I'm going to die. Like, I'm not going to wake up. I really started asking myself, am I dead? Because I keep living the same thing over and over again.
That was mushrooms,
man. No, I didn't take any, but I didn't take any mushrooms. Like, I would wake up and hit my phone and be like, okay, my phone's acting funny. I'm in a dream. So wake up, and I can feel my eyes just like shaking.
Wow.
Same thing. I'm in a dream. Wake up. Can't wake up. The fourth time I did it, that's when I saw the hooded figure. And then it was like right in my face, and I turned my head like this, was like, oh God. And I vibrated Yeshua, because at the time, that's what I'd learned Jesus' name was. And that thing just went, and it felt like I was in a pool of water when this thing moved by me.
Was you
and it
awake,
just left.
Or was you in the dream state?
I was in a dream state, but after that, I woke up for real. It's like it pulled it away.
Well, yeah, I had those. So that happened to me a lot when I was a kid, as far as laying in bed, and you essentially do the sleep paralysis thing, because your body goes to sleep, but your mind is still awake. You're asleep, but your dream is of you laying in your bed. So it feels like you're still awake. And then I would have those, very similar, demons that look like gremlins and things like that would crawl upon my bed, crawl up my covers, and be standing on my chest and walking up to me. And I feel like I'm awake, but I'm just kind of in and out of that weird dream state. And I don't know if it's really there or not. So I can't tell you for sure that was really a demon on my chest, because I was in the dream state, but it would scare the hell out of you.
Enough to scare you.
You think it's real. There was many times that would happen, and I would look at the door and I'd see little entities come walking in my room, but then I would wake up. I would wake up. Who knows? I don't know. There's time of time loss, and I don't know. I feel like I was asleep. I'm not going to state that as truth. Like, that's literally what happened, just because it's so foggy. But that's just how the mind is, bro. But those are the scariest dreams, when you're still awake, laying in your bed, and you have those encounters, man.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like, I don't know why, and I want to hear some more from you, but you guys got to get the book. I'm probably going to stay up tonight reading it after the show, but get TruthSeekah's book, TruthSeekah.com. Last break of the night. If you want to call in and ask any questions, now's the time. 1-800-588-0335. We'll be right back.
From Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques, or tapping, to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it, because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. it neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right, construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check, but there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
All right, man, this is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Right, me old Chiners. I know it's an ad break, but before you lot shoot off and make yourself a cup of Rosie Lee or whatever else it is you're going to sling down your Gregory Peck, you need to listen to me babble. If, like me, you found your way to Light in the Void via a downloadable podcast, you might want to take a butcher's at the Fringe FM Wind and Kite. You won't Adam and Eve how many other shows there are or what they rabbit on about. Ancient history, conspiracy, the consciousness, the esoteric, the occult, metaphysics, parapolitical, ufology, technology and spirituality, to name but a few. They got featured hosts like Ryan Gable, Jeremy Scott, Alex Exum, Tim Doyle, Cortana and Gigi, Susanna Ross, the Reverend John Polk, Michael Deacon and J.D. Lewis. You might find yourself listening to the thoughts and theories of the author of The Fish you just finished reading. Or you could pick up the dog and bone, call in and tell everyone your own beliefs or experiences. So do me a favour, before you put on the Ansel or crack open a bottle of vino or roll a joint, go to the Fringe FM and see what you're missing.
From a cave in the depths of your mind, it's Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you're interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Root and his show, Lighting the Void.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. If you want to check out any of the music that we play here on the show, you can go look at Chronox. Chronox is our man, the main music for the show. Also, Steezy Stevie. That's Steezy Stevie. He's got his own website. We'll be putting the links up there, too. And our guest tonight, TruthSeekah, is not only a podcast and author, but also a musician, which is something we hadn't really talked about tonight. But I'm totally, I'm enthralled by it, man. Expression, music, art, that kind of thing. So did you start getting into music before? Were you doing it before you got all really spiritual and into Christianity, or is this something you just started doing?
No, I've always been super into music as an escape my whole life. But as far as creating music and rapping, doing the hip hop wasn't until I became a Christian, started getting into Christian rock bands, Christian metal bands, and playing in bands and doing vocals and stuff like that. And then started to do the hip hop thing. And so, yeah, when I got into music, it's been all Christian for the most part. And I did the Christian hip hop stuff and was, like I said, traveling to churches and doing the work of an evangelist, and people would book us out and do these huge youth conferences and stuff like that. And then we do outreaches and the projects and stuff and feeding the homeless, and we do music and stuff like that. And so, but then as my spiritual walk began to kind of evolve a little bit more and begin to look into some more things that may seem taboo or outside of the realm of scriptures or agreed upon things like that, my music began to kind of take shape as well, just singing about and rapping about what I was going through and my beliefs and stuff. So they started to evolve as well and became more inclusive and more spiritual over the years. And so, yeah, I started out doing the gospel rap and stuff.
Man, that's really cool. And I feel like, to me, when people talk about magic, to me, I say magic. Well, magic is just a science of spirituality that we don't understand. But in my mind, you're creating magic based on what you believe. Like, you're tapping into your potential. You're tapping into your own spirituality, and it's coming through you. And you're really humble about it too. So you're doing all this stuff, writing books, making music, doing a podcast, and you're creating just like a child of God would be creating. And you're really humble. You know, you were talking to me during the break, like I got direct access to this stuff, but I don't do it in a megalomaniac way. I ask the Father, like, hey, is it cool if I see this? Will you show this to me, kind of thing. So that kind of reminds me of the book of Daniel, where he's, the king is trying to get him to, interpret his dreams and all this stuff. And he's like, I told you what the dream was. And I'm breaking this down softly, but I told you what the dream was. It came from God. All the stuff that you got comes from God. Until you listen, you're just going to keep losing it. That's kind of your mentality, right? Like, you understand this thing now. Yeah.
Praise be to God, to where all blessings come. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. And honor God with everything that you have. All that is good, all that is bad. Like, be thankful. I'm thankful that I'm here, that I got to incarnate here, that I'm still here. I should have died back then. I should have lost my mind. I should have been in a mental institution. I should have OD'd, and all of the things that I'm thankful. I live a life of gratitude, man, that I still am able to claim myself here on the earth and be a blessing and continue to help people. So I just try to pay it forward, man. And so everything comes out of gratitude, and in the Lord, that's a good ground for God to move in, is a place of gratitude and thankfulness and thanksgiving and honor. And so that's my plumb line. That's integrity. It's the fruits of the Spirit. It's long suffering. It's grace. It's peace. It's joy. It's love. And those are the things that I'm about, and just trying to help people. Again, going back to what we were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah, that's cool. That is really cool. People ask me, why, Joe? Why don't you just let go of, the old school magical systems and stuff like that? Why don't you try to invoke Lucifer? Or why don't you do this or that? And it's like, honestly, I do talk about magic on the show a lot, man. I do. But to be truthful to people, the biggest things I do is pray. I do a little magic every day, but I pray, and I use the book of Psalms like crazy. Why? Because it works, and I feel there's some truth to it. I mean, if I'm being honest with everybody, I think in your message tonight is too, if I'm being directly honest with everybody here, in the worst times of my life, that's who I call to. Maybe it was my upbringing. Maybe people want to think that's funny or whatever, but you know what? It's always pulled me out, and there's no doubt about that. And I think that kind of wraps back like what I was opening up the show with. I think it's like right in front of our face sometimes, and we don't want to see that. Like, Christianity gets tossed to the side so much when we talk about these things. We talk about the paranormal. We talk about UFOs and everything. It just gets tossed because it's like the old school stuff that I got away from, and then there ain't no point in talking about it. And yet every line leads back to every magic book I've ever read, even the one I'm reading now. You end everything in Jesus Christ's name, amen, stuff like that. And it's like, okay, are we really being real with ourselves here? I think that's the question we need to ask, you know?
Yeah, man, I'm with you, but it's like, so I'm trying to get back to the, that stuff that you're talking about that seems like, oh, we grew up with it. It's just, we heard about it over, because we want something new. We want something fresh, and we start looking outside. But those things are so deep, man. To looking like, just to break down any of that stuff that you said, or the stuff that maybe we took for granted in church or something, like in Jesus Christ's name, like, what does that even mean? And like to really like almost like hold a magnifying glass up to it and just kind of keep zooming in the name of love, that is the greatest vibrational form of love. I know we're summing it up in Jesus' name, but what do we mean? Like, what authority do we have to speak that name? What happens when we speak that name? Who is listening? Who is paying attention? Who is afraid? Who is ashamed? Like all of these things that come into play with these little things. And so even with the music and what I do, like that's kind of my thing. It's the taking something as nonchalant as prayer. Everyone prays. That's nothing deep. Our Father who art in heaven, God, I ask you, whatever, like everybody prays. But zooming in on it, let me describe it. What do I feel? What is my body doing? What do I feel? I breathe in a breath. I feel the euphoria. I let it go. Okay. Then what happens to a prayer? Okay, it travels to heaven. Let me describe it. Let me describe the course that my prayer takes when it leaves my mouth and my auric field and travels. You know, is it hindered? Is it unhindered? Is it powerful? What happens to my body? You know what I'm saying? And so taking these little things that we take for granted and explaining them in such a beautiful, articulate way that just brings beauty back to it, you know, and then taking the deep mysteries, again, some of the esoteric philosophies, and making them sound really easy, nonchalant, again, like, you know, taking the deep things and making them sound simple, and taking the simple things and making them sound deep, which they all are. Yeah, that's well said, man. Yeah, that's well said. Thank you for that. I want to listen to all of your music now, man. I want to get into this stuff a little more. Like I am not like, as a void walker, I'm only here. That's what we call ourselves here, void walkers. I'm only here to find the truth. I don't care where it comes from as long as it's truth, and truth is truth. It's like one of those things where people can say, well, that's, you know, and you hear people say, well, that's your truth and this is my truth. Like, I respect that, but that's not really what I'm looking for. You know? Yeah. I'm looking for real truth. And when I bounce things off the wall, and when we talk about this night after night, the real truth is that there's power in this man's name that everybody, you know, that everybody knows, the Bible story and stuff. But that name has been used to save so many people from situations, believe it or not. It's kind of like that movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? When he's like, you know, I'm not going to talk about you guys and baptism and all this stuff. That's superstition. And, you know, this buddy was like, yeah, well, that's not what you were casting about when we were about to get strung up, you know. And he's like, well, I was desperate. Well, you were desperate, but you got saved. It's like that Amazing Grace song, right? Man, when I was at my lowest, bro, that's who I called upon. He showed up. Now, if Buddha would have showed up, I'd be a Buddhist right now. If Krishna would have showed up, I'd be a Hindu. If Muhammad, I'd be a Muslim. It was Jesus that showed up for me when I was at my lowest breaking point. And he's never left me since. He never left to begin with. You know what I'm saying? It was just wasn't consciously aware that he was there, but that's a promise that he gives us. He'll never leave us and never forsake us. And you know, it's not contingent upon what we do. It's not contingent upon what we know. It's not contingent upon anything that we do. But it's not of works, lest any man should boast. But it's by grace through faith that we are able to possess the beauty in the mysteries of God and depths of who he is and his love. And we possess it by faith. And that's the most beautiful. It's the gospel. It's the most beautiful story. I don't have to work for this. Most religions are God or man trying to reach God, but Christianity is God trying to reach man. God becoming a man to come down here and reach us, becoming one of us and walking this thing out and showing us how it can be done, showing us a better example, and then going to the cross, dying for the remission of sins for free. You know what I'm saying? And like it's not fair, like what we get in return. You know, I get to lay down my burden. I get to lay down my doubt. I get to lay down my fear. I get to lay down my fighting, my striving. I get to pick up peace. I get to pick up grace, mercy, a peace of mind. Like, it's not fair. Like, it's a no-brainer. But, you know, people just have to get to these places to where they'll try it, man. The Bible says, taste and see that the Lord is good. And if you don't, I'm telling you, if you don't try everything else, try this. Give it a shot just to say you did. I guarantee you God will blow your mind, take you to places that you never knew existed, give you levels of peace that surpasses all understanding. Once you think you have this peace figured out, another level of peace, another level of joy, of bliss, of the universe and God holding all things together. You can experience the depths of that through the person of Jesus, man. That's my story. That's my foundation. If I came in any other way, then I would talk about it. But this is my truth.
Yeah,
and
man,
I think it's universal truth. I think it works for everybody if you try it, man. I don't think it's just for me.
No, but it's well said, man. And being a man that came from being clotheslined by demons in the backyard, you know, about to wig out. I've been there too, but not to that level where I thought I was losing my mind, but it brought me back home kind of thing. But that was you got a really, really intense story. And you go through this in your book too, right? Spirit Realm, where you talk about these types of things and things you saw and done and encountered. I can't wait to get into it, man.
It's almost like I'm lying, bro.
You can't believe what you're saying sometimes, huh? Like, man.
I know, because I talk about it in the book. We're talking about fairies, man. Like, we have fairy encounters and just out-of-body experiences and encountering Jesus, like showing up, you know, and angels and UFOs that come down. I mean, just so much out of this world. And the fact that some people have never had any, I feel spoiled. You know, and that's one of the things is people want more. I want more. But it's like, hold on, like, I've seen so much already. What am I doing with what I've already seen? Like in the scriptures, people will have one encounter, bro. God will come and he'll heal their sickness. They'll see a sign from heaven. And a lot of times they take it and they run with it and changes their life forever. And I've had so many. And that's the measure of the weight of his presence and of judgment and the severity. Is like, look, have I not done signs for you? Have you not seen the heavens open up and beings translated? Like, have you not seen the mysteries and you still don't believe? Like, what does it take?
Yeah, what do I got to do, right?
The first generation, you want more.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, man. I do. And
more.
I think what you're doing, regardless of what people believe or what they want to believe after this conversation, regardless, what you're doing is an ethically good thing, in my opinion. You're helping people. You're empowering people. Yeah. You're trying to show them love and good things. Now, honestly, you know, I respect your faith and your belief. I just don't care. I really am just more glad that you're doing that, man. Because at the end of the day, you're what's fixing the planet. You're not what's hurting it. And that's a good thing in my book. Any day of the week, you know. And I think we're going through some hard times right now. And if we want to get real biblical, I mean, come on. Floods, locusts, diseases.
We're definitely flooded down here.
you know what I mean? Like, we've had tsunamis, wipe people out. I mean, it doesn't all happen in one day, like Revelations talks about.
Nashville or Tennessee.
Tornadoes, yeah. I mean, everything you can imagine is happening to people. And I don't know. It's like, well, is it in the Bible? Well, everything's in the Bible. Doesn't mean it happens in one day. Are you curious about that, though? Like Revelations, like that's one book that just trips me out because there's a lot of astrological correspondences and there's a big mystery to that book. It really kind of bugged me my whole life, actually. But I love the book. You figured any of that stuff out?
Yeah, I've the last couple of years I've kind of found out that there was a belief system to what I've kind of organically came to believe just through my studies, of being just open to a lot of different studies and seeing what seems to fit the most. But there's a belief system or a way of eschatology called preterism, which is something new for me, but I'm really big into that. And so that lends to the understanding that the majority, if not all, there's different stances of full preterist or half or partial of the Bible has been fulfilled. There's a lot of prophecies and that Jesus said in Matthew that they believe that a lot of them have already been fulfilled. And then so Revelations was kind of like an overview, not of you mentioned Daniel, like Babylon falling in an hour. It talks about in Revelations, and that literally happened. Like Babylon fell within an hour. The greatest king that they knew was, arrayed in fine linens and wearing gold and drinking from chalices. And within an hour, he was crawling on his knees, hands and knees like a madman, eating grass like a cow within an hour. So this Babylonian king and Babylon fell within an hour. So there's like all of these prophecies and stuff. So Revelations was like an overview, like a cryptic message of what happened throughout the entire scriptures, and understanding preterism, which is really interesting. I didn't even know that there was a group of people, but to say that the majority, if not all of the Bible has been already fulfilled, which is interesting, but it makes sense when you go back and read the Bible and you hear the urgency in their voice, and they believe that the end was near for them. Like literally, when you see this happening, they were given instructions on what to do when the end was about to hit. And it's there's an urgency in their voice when you go back and read that stuff with that understanding.
Yeah, especially when you're locked in a room when your dad's making you listen to it by Alexander Scourby. It's a scary thing for a kid. I'm thinking, man, this
there will be locusts that come.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and gnashing of teeth, and people are going to be cast into the lake of fire, and you're thinking, oh my gosh,
Oh yeah.
As a kid, and it's like, and then they come in there, and they go, and your parents look at you and go, see, you better do right, boy. You're going to have to deal with all that.
My mom always had this thing, and she would if I would lie or we would get hurt after doing something stupid, she would change it. She would sometimes say that God was punishing us, and then she would other times say that the devil's punishing us.
Oh yeah.
God's going to get you. God's going to get you. Then she'll say the devil's going to get you. It's like, who's getting me? The God or the devil? Like, which one? Like,
yeah, that's cool, man. I think we've had kind of the same upbringing, although your childhood is definitely a little different than mine, but I
started out in the Baptist too, man. Baptist until I got into Assemblies of God. So it's very similar that way too.
Yeah.
Going to Baptist, Southern Baptist, brimstone, preacher screaming, spitting, face turned red. And then immediately after the sermon's done, hey guys, let's go for chicken. It's like, you talk about me burning in hell forever. And now you want to go eat chicken.
No, now you want to go have a Coke and some barbecue. I get it. Everything's all good
swimming
now.
With the kids at the creek.
Yeah, and I went a lot to a lot of those youth outings too, where you go to the big like seminars and stuff, and they get you all worked up and in the spirit. And it never did. And when people start talking in tongues, like I don't get into that debate. I don't know what's real, what's not real. I do know that I felt spirit like. Things move through me. But there was this one time, I got to tell you real quick, in a Assembly of God church, when I've seen people speak in tongues and stuff, and I'm just standing there all awkward, waiting for it to be over, that kind of thing. But there was this one time, man, when I was in an Assembly of God church, when like the pastor started speaking in tongues, but this old woman in the back, really old woman, she never spoke. Like she was in church every Sunday, never spoke kind of thing. And she just stands up and starts interpreting what he's saying. And I literally felt like I couldn't move, man. Like I couldn't move. Like I was full of tears, just staring at the ground. I couldn't move. And I was like, yep, this one's real for sure. I can't move, Then I went home, I told my dad about it, and he's like, yeah, there's tongues. He told me the story about how somebody was speaking in tongues, but they were really cursing God and all this other stuff. They were speaking in Hebrew.
Oh God, that's funny.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, well, there has to be an interpreter. that kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't want to get into this technical argument. So I just kind of brushed it off, and it was
on
like,
that, on that day there was, though, right?
There was that day for sure. Yeah. On that day.
Yeah, tongues and the interpretation of tongues for sure.
Yeah. And I said, I just know that it happened, and I couldn't tell you. And when I say I couldn't move, man, it's like I was kneeled down kind of with my head to the ground. If I tried to, it wasn't that I was scared to lift my head up, man. I couldn't lift my head up. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, dude. I've been in so many encounters like that with God and the Holy Spirit, and it's just this strong reverence, even, you know, like you're scared to get up, like this but it's a good reverence, you know. It's not a
I wasn't scared enough.
I've been many situations like that, but they're good though. They're good.
Well, listen, man, we got to roll out of here, but this was a really good conversation. Thank you for coming on the show. If you can, though, like TruthSeekah.com, that's where all your stuff's on that website, right? The book, the podcast, you got like
music, guided meditations and one-on-one sessions, and my meditations are above and beyond, though. They're a bit different. There's voice actors that I've hired and sound effects and all that kind of stuff. So they're very immersive. So definitely check those out.
Yeah, y'all go check out the website. And I'm definitely going to go check it out, too. Get the book, Spirit Realm. And hopefully, man, we can have you back one day when you write your next book, right? You're going to come back and talk to us, hopefully.
Yes, sir. Make it happen.
Fantastic. You guys, we do got to roll out of here, but tomorrow night, Alex Gazami is going to be on. We're going to talk about pop magic, but understand, like, this show about lighting the void is, I think after tonight, should we take a deeper look at Christianity? Or like TruthSeekah says, maybe you want to do it from a scientific point of view. Maybe you should just, I don't know, try it and see what happens. All of this is what we're doing in the void, trying to figure out what's really going on as a family of explorers of consciousness. I want to thank Pacho, my producer, Don, Amanda, Barbara, Jeremy Scott, Eric Markham. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Good night.
On this program do not necessarily reflect those of the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting, its sponsors, affiliates, or staff. Listener discretion is advised.